Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the McDonCast, the funnest podcast in town.
Around. Sam.
The only podcast around.
That's right. We're the only podcast in around and around in general. Is there a difference?
And we will continue to be the only podcast forever.
Yeah. Well, until someone watches this podcast, they won't be able to steal the idea to do it. So
They can't. Well, it's impossible. It can't be done.
Yeah. That's our genius. As long as we have no listeners, then we have no people who can steal from us.
Exactly. No one can steal our IP if no one knows it exists.
I can't wait for the cheap Chinese knockoff of the McDonCast.
It will happen one day.
Yeah. Do you think AI could do this?
AI, absolutely. We could totally train an AI just to do this whole show.
Generate.
Like, just feed it every episode of the show and then be like, make the next episode of the McDonCast. Pull from current pop culture. Like, I feel like it would
just
get a little bit lost.
Just plug in the news, and then it would just
cover. Like, it would spend way too much time talking about, like, celebrity relationship drama, but, like, I feel like otherwise it'd be basically the same.
I don't know. I feel like when we get sidetracked on this show, it's usually going on, like, a 10-minute rant about, like, Ben 10 lore or something like that. I don't know if they could...
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to replicate that
I don't think the AI could replicate that. There is...
Well, maybe it could, actually.
Sam, trust me, there is literally no other podcast on the planet that had a 15-minute discussion about Herbie Fully Loaded and the rest of the Herbie franchise. Like, no one's touching that with a 10-foot pole. Anyway, we don't have time to dilly-dally.
No one else even knows what that is.
We don't have time to dilly-dally this week. We got way too much stuff to do. We're going to do all the news we missed from the past couple weeks because we've been off, because we've been busy. And then we're also going to do what is kind of a week late, but, you know, it's still early May, our predictions for the top 10 highest grossing movies of the summer. But Sam, before we do that, do you want to give us a brief rundown?
Let me give you guys a brief rundown of what we got going on today. We got trailers, nuggets, rocks, tariffs, and problems. That's one word from each topic. You guys will get to learn what the rest of the words are when we get there. That's the new gimmick. That's our new bit. We give them one word teasers for the topics.
You think that's going to boost viewer retention? They're like, dang,
absolutely.
I wonder what a problem is or what a rock is. See, because now they can go like, Are we talking about rocks as in like on the ground rocks? Are we talking about the rock?
The rock.
Or are we talking about
his family?
Actually, we are.
No one knows.
We are going to talk about the rock, but not in the rock related section. But
that's true.
We've had quite a few trailers this last week. I made a full list. We don't have to talk about each one, just a couple that stand out. We got a full trailer for Weapons, Zach Cregger's new movie. We talked about the teaser a few weeks ago. I don't think we have a whole lot else new to say about that. We got a quick teaser for Spike Lee's Highest to Lowest, his reteaming with Denzel Washington from Apple and A24 that is hitting theaters in August and then going to Apple TV Plus 2 weeks after that. So I don't understand that strategy at all, but Apple is panicking, I guess.
Apple's got to do what Apple's got to do. They always got to do.
For what I don't
They just got to do.
What I don't understand is like they put, Fly Me to the Moon in theaters, like gave it a full wide theatrical release in the summer.
It still drives me absolutely insane that they did not play Fly Me to the Moon during the movie. Actually, what are we doing?
But
what are we doing?
They gave that movie a big release, and they gave a lot of movies like that.
Name one other movie named after a song where they don't play the song.
Well, was it named after the song, or was it just like
a
fun name?
They played it in the credits, but they played like a weird cover of it. Remember?
Well, that counts. Maybe they couldn't afford the Sinatra version.
Then don't name it that. Also, it was Apple TV. Apple already has the rights. They own Apple Music.
Well, but apparently they're too cheap to release their high-profile original films in theaters.
Dumb.
But like they gave that a big release. They gave Argyle a big release. But then like The Gorge and Wolves, they chickened out because those movies underperformed and they sent those straight to streaming. But then you have this movie, which has Denzel Washington, who's like one of our last remaining actual movie stars, and whose movies pretty much always at least make some money. And you have Spike Lee, who's obviously this acclaimed director, but they're going to send that one straight to streaming. I just don't understand the strategy. I don't get it. I don't know what they're doing in the movie space if they're not willing to take risks on
Apple.
Yeah.
They just do.
Like, I get that it's for boosting the service, but in order for the films to boost the service, people have to consider them to be real movies. And it's been
they're just here for the vibes.
They're there for Severance.
That's really it.
They're
just here for the vibes.
They're there for Severance and Ted
They're
Lasso.
They're here to make the guy who plays Mr. Milchick dance around. And honestly, that's fine. I'm here for it.
Other trailers we got, Predator Badlands, the live-action Predator movie coming in November from Prey director Dan Trachtenberg. Elle Fanning stars as what appears to be an android woman teaming up with a predator to fight some other predators.
That's right.
It's kind of unclear.
We're making it more explicit that it's in the same universe as Alien.
Yes, she might be a Weyland-Yutani droid, which is the evil company.
She is, because we see
Alien.
other ones that are like strung up in his nest or or whatever.
And then there's a skull of the alien from Independence Day on his wall, or on a predator ship's wall. Do you think they would ever actually like cross those movies over, like Alien versus Predator versus Independence Day? Just summon all of the
Who owns Independence Day?
They do. Fox does. Disney has it. So that's why they put it in, because they own that one.
Well, it looked a little different. It didn't look quite like the Independence Day ones. But like, I don't see why you couldn't.
Well, I mean,
like, there's no.
Because everyone's
there's no conflicting lore, is there?
No, I mean, they would just be an alien species on another world. But
in fact, you could even argue that's why they started exploring space after the aliens invaded. They were like, yeah, there's stuff in space. Let's go.
Because people are clamoring for another Alien versus Predator movie, but we got 2 of them in the early 2000s. So I feel like if we're gonna do that again,
we can do a well-lit one that we can see them fight in.
That's hopefully like watchable, has a plot maybe. I don't think
The second one was fine. Second one was way better than the first one.
Did Paul W.S. Anderson, who did the Resident Evil movies, did he do both of those, or did he just do the first one? He did the first one. Who did Requiem? 2 unknowns did Requiem, which was the second one. The brothers Strauss, who also did nothing else. That's pretty much it. They just did Alien versus Predator Requiem. Anyway,
interesting.
Badlands looks cool. I'm down. I'm interested to see how this does.
Will it be better than Borderlands?
That's tough. That's tough.
Who's to say?
That's a high bar to clear.
How would you know?
No, I'm interested to see how this does. I wonder if Prey was really big on Hulu on streaming. I'm interested to see if that helps this movie because there's enthusiasm from the last one, or if putting the last mainline Predator movie direct to streaming makes people go, this is a streaming franchise now, why go theater and pay money?
I don't think that'll affect it, because I think most people who think that way just didn't watch it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that they thought Predator is now a streaming franchise, it's that they thought this is not a real Predator movie because it is streaming.
And it didn't have Predator in the title.
Yeah.
It's going to be their clever workaround, because this one they put it back in.
Yeah, so we're fine. We're good there.
Wednesday season 2.
And then we can make Prey movies exclusively for streaming. We'll make Prey 2.
That's smart. Yeah. Prey Badlands. Just remake the same movie, but from like a slightly different perspective.
Yeah, we'll do that forever.
Wednesday season 2 got a little trailer. Took 3 years to make this new season. I think this is supposed to come out in the fall. And I believe
they're now all too old.
Yeah, well, yeah.
They were already kind of too old before.
Jenna Ortega's like, what, 26 now, still playing high schooler Wednesday Addams.
However old she is in the show,
I
17
think
or whatever.
it's also, yes, it's been confirmed that they're splitting this season into 2 parts. So that's pretty much
Awesome.
this is Netflix's thing now. I feel like any major show, because they're still refusing to go weekly, but they also want that bump from breaking the episodes up.
Just go weekly. Just go weekly.
Yeah, I don't understand why they refuse to do it.
Everyone wants you to just do it.
It's a real,
just do it.
It's a real,
and you do it.
Yeah, it's a real stubborn thing where it's like it's because they've been saying this is like their model, and this is the way.
Sorry, what? What's up? Oh, definitely, for sure. Yeah, Donald Trump's going to be the new pope. I don't know if you guys listening.
Oh,
yeah, that's
we have an
that's
update.
real.
I mean, we have Trump.
Sorry, my
updates
roommate just walked in.
just to say that Trump's the pope.
Oh no, this is the podcast. This is my brother. Yeah, go for it.
He's also a Sith Lord. Did you see
Me
that?
too. Yeah, he's also a Sith Lord deporting the other Sith Lords? Question mark.
Yeah, it was weird. Anyway, this is how they do. This is just how they're gonna do all their shows. They did this for Cobra Kai. They split that into 3 parts. We have a trailer for Squid Game season 3 that just came out. I wouldn't be surprised if they split that up too. And Stranger Things.
For sure.
My theory with Stranger Things.
They're big 3.
Yeah.
Stranger Things, Squid Game, and Wednesday.
Yeah.
Those will be split up forever.
I've been
for
saying
as long as they make them.
I've been saying
every
it
time
for like over a year at this point, but I think Stranger Things they're splitting up into like 4 parts, and it's going to come out over the course of like a year and a half. I think they're going to ride that train for as long as it.
I think they're worried that when
on.
Stranger Things ends, Netflix as a company goes away. I think they're. I don't think they're correct in that fear. But I think for some reason their algorithm is like, yeah, when this show ends, we just go company ends.
They're right now. Their thing is they just had a recent like investor call. They're aiming for 400 million subs, and they have basically said our subscriber base in the U.S. and in the UK is like defined. It's done. It's not going to go any higher than it is right now. So they're targeting like India as their next big expansion market.
I was gonna say, just make like a ton of Bollywood stuff, and that's cheap.
Yeah,
that's cheap to make.
Which is where I think they'll go next is build a bigger Indian cinema and television kind of component to their service. I think they need to start breaking out their different shows and movies into like sub brands. I don't understand why they don't do that. Where it's like, you know how like Disney, right, on Disney Plus, and I'm not saying this works perfectly, or even HBO. HBO has like, there are HBO dramas and there are HBO comedies, right? And they're like smart enough to kind of divide them up on the service. So when you're looking for one, you know where to go. Netflix, just everything they do, every show and movie they make, and they just slap Netflix original on it. And it's just kind of vomited onto the homepage. And there's nowhere to like really navigate to find anything. I don't understand why they don't break it out where it's like Netflix comedy originals or something like that. I don't know. That should be their next focus, is trying to make like genre content, and especially their original stuff have like defined personalities. Anyway, that's a big ramble.
Yeah, it's very weird.
Like I said, there was also a trailer for Squid Game season 3, aka Squid Game season 2 completed. Did you ever finish
Part 2? No, because I still don't have Netflix. So I watched the first episode on like Nick's Netflix account while it was logged in, and then it logged out, and I was like, all right, I guess I'm done.
You never decided to set sail on the seven
seas. So much other stuff going on.
There's so much TV going on right now. It's insane. Like Andor, 3 more episodes of Andor dropped tonight as of recording this that I haven't watched. Yeah. But the studio's been going. The Last of Us is back. Poker Face comes back this week. Tales of the Underworld just dropped last week. It's insane.
Tales of the Underworld was really good, actually.
People are hating on that one. People don't like it at all. They're really upset.
They're dumb. Both arcs, I think, were really good.
I think
this is the first one where both arcs were good.
Yeah, this was the only one that didn't have like a massive disparity between the two. I thought the Cad Bane one
the Ventress one was definitely the Cad Bane one was definitely better.
I think so,
in my opinion. But the Ventress one was solid.
The Ventress one was okay. It was a lot of like, okay, Star Wars has done this.
I have a lot of unanswered questions about the Ventress one. What exactly the deal was with Mother Talzin? What happened there?
It's all relates to my big problem with Star Wars right now, which is Filoni has free reign, and Filoni has a love of like 8 characters, and he will not let them go away. He will just continue to do whatever he can to keep them around for some reason, because it's very clear he doesn't know what to do with them.
But I don't mind that, like, because all the stuff they did for the most part was just a continuation of the Ventress book they made, which is fine.
Which is also kind of an odd choice, because like let's be real, who read that book?
But I like it because it does give more credibility to the books. That's one of my biggest issues with the Star Wars books, is that they just completely ignore them. And I like how now with this one, the Ahsoka book and the Ventress book are basically 100% canon.
In a way, they
like
basically...
It's like slightly different.
The book they basically just remade across a couple different animated things over the years.
Exactly, yeah, like we got all the content.
But no, the Ventress one, I was just kind of like, okay, she finds a kid, they're going to go on a little adventure, they're going to bond, and then they're going to go off and train to be
I do
Jedi,
think that
but not
Ventress is a
Jedi.
bit of a unique character in the Star Wars universe because of her role in the Clone Wars and the fact that she is still around. Because she was, for all intents and purposes, basically like the second highest commander within the Separatist Alliance.
Yeah, the one idea they not introduced, but one idea they brought up in the Ventress arc. I'm getting with the characters mixed up in my brain at this point. And the Ventress arc is that 3rd episode, which I thought in general was a really giant letdown to the whole arc. But I still like this idea of
I don't like that he stuck around. That was dumb.
Of like separatist loyalists and like people and like exploring the people on that side of the war. I don't know.
Yeah.
That is still one of the only, especially since we're just stuck eternally in this between episode 3 and 4 time period. I feel like that's a concept they should always look. They should look into.
Second largest faction in the galaxy pre-Civil War.
Well, and they were being,
or I guess
they were
pre-rebellion.
They were being manipulated by Sidious, obviously, but they were correct. Like the Separatists were correct in that, like the Republic was expanding in power, the Jedi were incompetent and bad at their jobs, and it immediately became a fascist dictatorship. The second the war
overnight.
Ended.
Literally, as soon as they were gone, immediately dictatorship away.
Yeah, that was all right. And then the Cad Bane one I thought was just fun. It was like, all right, his little origin.
I thought the Cad Bane was really solid. I like his origin story. I like the kid and the fact that he never learns. I thought that was a really cool kind of tragic twist to his story.
I love that Cad Bane's actual name is Colby, just regular human name. Another thing I found funny about those 3 episodes was they would cut to like emotional close-ups of, I don't know what species Cad Bane is, but they have eyes that are just pure red. They have no pupils. They would cut to like,
they had to give him like reflections and stuff.
They
to
cut
give
to
him more
close-ups,
emotion.
but they couldn't emote, so they would just be like, they just litter it with tears and like try to like reflect lights into it to make it emote. I thought that was kind of amusing. But yeah, that episode was like a fun, just little side thing.
And I like that it was like a classic. There's only room for one of us.
Yeah, it was like a little. There's just. Like
it was
a
very
Western
old
riff.
West style.
Yeah.
And Cad Bane's always been kind of like an old Western style character.
Yeah, it's definitely.
I always like it when Star Wars does old West stuff. That's always fun.
But overall, it was way better than Tales of the Empire, which I thought was just kind of lame overall. And then
just a letdown.
I still don't think the best of these little stories has been Dooku's, because that's by far the most interesting.
100%.
And then Ahsoka's just a giant fat nothing burger. Just
it's all stuff that we just straight up
look,
knew.
here's an Inquisitor.
And isn't even interesting.
I do love that 2 of the episodes of this show have just been, look, it's an Inquisitor. We got to do a fight.
And they never survived.
Star Wars results
another thing
every time they need someone to fight. They're just like, look, an Inquisitor shows up. How many Inquisitors are there?
Another thing
like
I thought was interesting is that Ahsoka retained her skills to the maximum power. Like she never waned at all. Whereas Ventress was like clearly like out of shape, like during her fight. Because she should have absolutely mopped the floor with that Inquisitor guy.
Well, I don't know.
It should not have been a challenge for her.
She was never like the greatest.
Anakin and Obi-Wan one-on-one, like one-on-two multiple times.
But she never won. She just kind of held her own until she ran away.
That's Obi-Wan Kenobi. And Anakin, the guy who killed Count Dooku,
They're like
who
LeBron and Luca,
are probably the greatest duelist in the galaxy at the time. Sans Yoda, but even Yoda and him were like fairly evenly matched. And Obi-Wan, who soloed Anakin twice. So, I mean, Ventress is kind of cracked in terms of like dueling prowess.
Sure, I guess. I don't know. I feel like she was more just like the walk up behind a dude, stab him, and then kind of run away type person. And also, she had one lightsaber.
Like, we know she sparred with Grievous, and Grievous is like nutty.
That's true. There's one more trailer I want to talk about. There's some trailers this week for Now You See Me 3. Great. Whoop whoop.
This is so dumb.
Lionsgate.
This might be my least favorite attempt at a franchise.
They're making this because Lionsgate has no IPs.
So lame.
They have John Wick, which they're trying to turn into the MCU.
It's so hard to milk, and it just isn't working.
It's just not going to work. And then they're trying to find other ones, and the other one they're going to try is Now You See Me magician movie. They're not actually magic, right? Like that's part of the movie. It's all like illusions.
Yeah, but sometimes they are, because they just don't explain it, and they're like, yeah, we're just wizards now.
That's great. But the other trailer I want to talk about was, and I don't know if you watched this, I haven't linked in the docket, is for The Smashing Machine, which is the new film from Benny Safdie.
I didn't watch the whole trailer, but I did see like some clips of it here and there on Twitter with people going like, wow, The Rock looks like not The Rock.
Yeah, so this stars The Rock as UFC legend Mark Kerr. He's doing a real dramatic role. This is for Benny Safdie, who co-directed and co-wrote Uncut Gems. This is for A24. Emily Blunt is going to play his wife. He's got a wig on. He's got a prosthetic nose. He's doing a voice. Like he's altered his voice a little bit.
Why is it The Rock? You could have just done another guy.
Well, I think it's because The Rock wanted to do like I can really act movie.
It's his time.
Do you think he could get nominated for an Oscar?
If this movie is good, I could see it. I could see him getting nominated.
There's talk of...
I don't know that he would, but like, okay, like what standout performances have we seen this year so far?
Well, so far, I mean, I don't think he's competing. I don't think there is any sort of frontrunners right now.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't hit festivals really yet. Cannes is coming up in a couple of weeks. I think we'll have a better idea of who's kind of leading the Oscar race at that point. But I don't know.
Like, I assume Leonardo DiCaprio will probably get nominated for that movie.
Yeah, One Battle After Another.
Yeah, he'll get nominated for this. Maybe. And Leonardo DiCaprio already has one, so they might just be like, it's his time. It's time for The Rock to get an Oscar.
I mean, Timothy Chalamet is in a movie this year in December where he's playing a ping pong player.
If he didn't get one for,
there's talk of
Complete Unknown, I don't think he'd get one for ping pong movie.
That would be kind of funny if he did, though. If they gave him one for ping pong movie,
it would be kind of funny. That is true.
Other talks there's talk of Michael B. Jordan for Sinners.
You know what? I could see that. I could totally see that.
I could maybe see a nomination.
That's the front runner right now. I would say that's the front runner right now.
I mean, I could see him definitely getting nominated, especially after The Substance got Demi Moore an almost Best Actress win.
I could see him winning.
I mean, obviously, it's way too early.
Oh, he played two characters, and like, let's be honest, the character was not that different from Michael B. Jordan.
Well, I thought they were
just Michael B. Jordan.
I thought they were very
in a different time period.
I thought they were very distinct, and then once.
No. I don't mean the two brothers were not different. I'm saying he was basically playing like an action hero type character by the end.
Yeah, somewhat. But I thought he was amazing in that movie.
I'm not saying he was bad. I'm just saying it's very much within his wheelhouse of what we've seen him do before. Like it's not a breakout. Like this for The Rock, that's totally different. We've never seen him do like an auteur movie
which is
before.
what they're pushing this as. This is the
Yeah,
Rock
whereas
as a
Michael
real
B.
movie.
Jordan, like the characters characters that he played in Sinners were very much in line with the types of characters he's played before.
The Rock is on an all-time stinker streak
He's in a
right
career
now.
rut right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he needs a win.
So
he desperately needs a win.
So his last couple have been Jungle Cruise, Red Notice. He did a voice in DC League of Super Pets. He was in Black Adam. He was in Red 1. And then he did, obviously, a voice in Moana 2. So the only one of those that was a bona fide hit was Moana 2, which is a sequel.
Sucked.
And then the Red Notice was Netflix's biggest movie of all time, but who even remembers that movie exists?
So yeah, that's not real.
I mean,
that ain't real.
Black Adam really took all the wind out of his sails, man. You could just tell that just like completely retooled the way he was approaching this. Because his brain just
Black Adam crushed his soul.
Yeah,
his spirit was crushed.
And then Red 1. I mean, what even was that? Apparently, it was giant on Prime Video. Apparently, it was like their biggest.
Yeah, because it's a Christmas movie.
Because they launched it at Christmas.
Yeah, it was like everyone was like, oh, then every streaming service has one weird celebrity hype Christmas movie that they do every year.
But it probably lost $100 million theatrically because they gave it a full release, and it cost $250 million to make.
And they went like all out.
And probably another.
You should never go all out with the marketing for a Christmas movie. Studios, take note.
I don't think you should ever go.
Don't do that.
I don't think you should spend $250 million on a movie that you're going to release in theaters and then put it on a streaming a month later. Like, because they were going to do that no matter what. Because it was coming out in November. They weren't going to wait another year to put it on Prime Video because Amazon made it. So even if it had
a Christmas movie,
even if it had opened to like $80 million, like a solid opening for an original action movie, they would have had to kill it by putting it on streaming anyway when they did. So it made no sense to me to begin with.
Very bizarre.
That's the Rock talk. Let's now move on to some gaming news. Sam's favorite thing.
Is Thunderbolts part of this summer?
Yes, we are counting Thunderbolts. Are you making your list while we're recording the other segments?
Yeah.
That's great. Sam's obviously always the most prepared.
Hey, I have two 15-page papers due and then another 25-page paper due later. Not today, but one of them is today.
I also have several papers due this week, but I was like, no.
So, yeah.
I need to try to figure out how much money Lilo and Stitch is going to make. Anyway, some quick gaming news. This is gaming movie news. This one, John M. Chu is going to direct the split fiction film adaptation. Sydney Sweeney is attached to star. Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick of Deadpool and Zombieland fame are penning the script.
That's very strange.
Kind of a weird combination, but like, yeah, no, I can definitely see that working. And this is moving very fast.
I think this is the fastest turnaround we've ever seen from video game to movie.
And all of those people are very busy right now. I don't think Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick are doing much.
Save things that were like that all released at once. Where
After
it was like they
Deadpool.
made a game, a movie, and a bunch of other things all at the same time.
But Sydney Sweeney's got like 4 movies lined up. She's going to be in the 3rd season of Euphoria, obviously.
She's currently like the girl of Hollywood.
Yeah.
Like she's the woman you get when you need a woman for a thing.
You can just say hot chick. You can just say
she's like the hot girl.
Yeah. And
so like
John M. Chu is doing obviously Wicked Part 2 this year, and then he has an animated Dr. Seuss movie coming out after that. And I think he's supposed to do Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat as well.
Oh yeah, I forgot we were doing that.
So that's all supposed to be soon. My guess is they would try to fast track this because this game is hot right now, and they got to cash in as soon as possible.
It like was for like a month, but it's like kind of gone now.
But if they if they take 3 years, that's faster than 6 years, which is when it would come out normally.
You think
no studio have signed on to this yet. This is a package that's being shopped around, so we'll see who ends up picking this up. But
Split Fiction has only sold 4 million units.
But video game movies, Hollywood's looking for the next big thing. They're trying to figure it out, and it's looking like video games.
I don't think it's Split Fiction though.
But you got to keep in mind that Minecraft is making boatloads of cash.
Yes.
And Mario made $1 billion. And so all the executives are like, every video game is the same. If we just get a video game.
Yeah, I was gonna say those two are the two where like you literally could have had Steve and Mario just like taking a 2-hour long dump on screen, and people would be like,
Amazon
favorite movie.
Amazon is making a Madden movie with David O. Russell and Nicolas Cage.
I think that's just called basketball.
Madden is the football one.
I think that's just called football.
It's supposed to be about John Madden, but apparently the focus is going to be very heavily on the video game that he was barely involved in.
Yeah, unless there's like a really interesting story behind how he got involved. I don't think that's
There's
really
not.
an interesting thing to talk about.
They'll make one up, but the one.
All right, we have a lot of stuff. Let's keep going.
Anyway,
let's keep rolling.
EA just laid off a bunch of employees, estimated 300 to 400 total. 100 of them from Respawn Entertainment, who in the process of that killed 2 early incubation projects. One of them was a new Titanfall game.
I was gonna say Respawn's not that big. I think they only have like 150 people ish working there.
They killed a new Titanfall that was in the works. They're focusing all of their effort on the last Star Wars Jedi game.
They have 500 to 1,000 employees.
Oh, that's quite a bit.
Yeah, that's a little bit bigger than I thought.
And more content for Apex Legends. Apparently, they're going to try to relaunch Apex Legends. They're like trying to really push.
Relaunch it.
Like
it's already out.
No, but be like, look,
they deleted the mobile version of the game. It's gone.
They're going to be like, no, come back, more Apex. You love battle royale shooters. And apparently, they're not doing well overall. EA had to reduce its fiscal bookings after EA Sports FC 25 underperformed. BioWare is being shrunk because Dragon Age Veilguard underperformed sales expectations by 50%. What is going on in the game industry? I feel like more people need to be talking about this. I actually know
exactly what's going on. It's actually very, very, very simple to explain.
Well, my question is, was this a thing where in 2020 COVID hit, the industry inflated artificially?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or was this just a complete inability to develop for the current generation?
It's a combination of two things. One, yes, COVID caused the entire games industry to massively inflate, way beyond what it should have. The industry has been stuck making battle royale and looter shooter battle pass games for the last 7 years, and only 3 of them have ever done well. And for some reason, we're just still doing that.
Well, because
it's
the same thing we're seeing with the movie industry. Netflix blew up.
This console cycle has been not only one of the worst selling console generations, but one of the most difficult to develop for investment wise. In order to create a true AAA experience, a true big slam dunk slammer graphic powerhouse game, that requires now multiple console generations worth of development time.
Yeah.
If you want the game to actually be finished upon release.
Well, we have a story
that's the other thing. Games that do release are not finished upon release.
Yeah. We have another story that kind of ties into what you're saying, which is that Xbox and Microsoft announced on May 1st, which was a week ago at time of recording, that all of their consoles and accessories are seeing a 25% price hike. And they are gradually working their way towards all of their first-party games being $80. Their goal is to do that by the holiday season. So the Xbox Series X base edition is now $600. The digital Series X is $550. The Series S is $430. Games $80. Controllers are $70. Unless you want one of the special ones, then it's like $90. I mean, this is insane.
I will say they kept the price of the regular controllers the same.
Wow.
The controllers did not change.
Thanks, Xbox. Okay. At least we're recording this before Sony has done anything.
Sony will.
Sony
It's only
inevitably
a
will
matter
now.
of days.
But like when Sony launched the PS5 Pro for $700, at least everybody was like, "That's stupid. No one's gonna buy that." And at least they're not raising the price.
But
of
also,
the
I
base
don't need
PS5.
to because there's the regular one, so it's fine.
Like the base PS5 is still $500. Their excuse to inflate the price of consoles was to introduce a new system.
Which is fine because, again,
And
you're
Nintendo
actually
did the same thing. The Switch 2
Yeah.
is more expensive. They didn't just raise the price of the base Switch. Xbox just straight up going, we're 5 years into the generation, and now our console is going to
It's now
cost
more expensive.
an extra $100 for nothing.
Well, Tucker, the
Is-
Xbox Series X Pro came out. The thing is it's just the same exact console.
Is there a picture of Gears of War Man on it now that makes it cost more?
The ink to type the word Pro on the box is very expensive.
And I get it. There's a lot of economic turmoil right now. Genuinely, nobody knows what's going on,
What's
or when
happening,
it's going to
yeah.
end, or what any of that's going to mean. But just straight up, just going, this thing you've been paying $500 for 4.5 years
Is now more expensive.
is now $100 more expensive, just in time for the holiday season, is just straight up gross. And the fact that they're like, oh, all of our games $80 now.
Also,
I mean, that's not going to affect them
sales
because they make no games. But what?
Xbox sales are record low right
They're
now.
abysmal. This generation has been catastrophic for them.
Functionally doesn't exist.
They have killed the
There
Xbox.
functionally is no Xbox.
Yeah, I mean, they're all of their development and games and stuff. They're targeting PC audiences at this point. Like they're
They've
barely even
made-
trying.
They have made a grand total of one Xbox game.
What's that, Sam?
This entire console generation, they've made
What game was that?
one game, and they didn't even make it. Bethesda made it.
Are you talking about Indiana
They
Jones?
just stopped Bethesda while they were making it. Yeah,
Guess what? That's on
and
PS5.
it was a time exclusive.
It's on PS5.
It wasn't even a real exclusive. There is one. Okay, two if you count Halo Infinite. There are two Xbox games, and Halo Infinite came out 5 years ago.
Hey, Sam, they're still working on Elder Scrolls. Just give them a few more years. They're going to crank that one
So
out.
you know what? I'm gonna say it. This is why it's okay when Nintendo does it. Because you know what? They at least make games.
Okay.
At least you get something when you pay Nintendo.
Yeah.
What do you get when you pay Microsoft?
A
Less
box.
desk space?
You get a
That's
good-
about it.
You get a really conveniently sized paperweight
A huge streaming box. Wow, thank you.
that comes with some nice cables. No, but no, this is.
What are we doing?
I am expecting Sony to do the same. There's
You know
no way
what?
they don't.
Again, let's say, okay, the hardware tariffs, right?
Yeah, sure.
Prices are going up. Sure. 80%. Do you know what 80% is
It's 25%.
in reference to Xbox? I'm talking about virtual game sales.
Oh,
80% of games bought on Xbox, or I believe roughly 80%, are digital games.
yeah.
Do you know what has no import? You know what you don't have to import?
Digital games.
Digital games.
Yep.
Because they don't go anywhere.
Same with
Are we
Nintendo.
are we tariffing the electricity from Canada? Like what are we talking about?
Yeah.
Again, at least Nintendo technically is based in Japan. You could argue maybe it's from Japan.
No, I mean, what happened there?
Xbox is from the United States.
What happened there is they saw Nintendo release an $80 game, and they were like, "Well, we can't
It's
wait."
Nintendo's fault.
Yeah, no, it's 100% Nintendo's fault because they can't.
Yeah, this is 100% Nintendo's fault.
because this
which
generation.
is why it's not okay when Nintendo does this.
Yeah, Seb's joking. This console generation is going to go on another probably 4 to 5 years because they're not
At
gonna,
least.
they're not going to crank out a new Xbox and PlayStation soon. So they were going, we can't wait that long to increase
is
the
the-
price. We have to just bite the bullet and do it now.
This is the sunset of the Xbox.
Oh, this is the Xbox last
After
year.
this Xbox is over.
Yeah, no, they're not.
There will
And they
be
killed it themselves.
another Xbox, but the next Xbox will be a standardized home Windows PC that is particularly spec'd for games.
They've basically already killed it. Like, they're done. They've given up.
Yeah.
Game Pass, they switched their...
Like, is this another desperate gamble to, like, get to boost Game Pass sales? Is that what this is?
Well, that would be the games, but I mean, who's paying $600 for a game streaming box?
That's what I'm... Like, this is an absurd proposition. There is no value proposition here.
I mean, their shift...
Why would anyone buy an Xbox at this point?
I just, like... Home console gaming has become impenetrable to your average person.
It is now. The Xbox genuinely, specifically the Series S, phenomenal deal. Fantastic deal. You get access to there's no first party games, but if you want to play a lot of AAA third party games from this current most recent generation in 1080 or 1440p, it's perfect. It's great. Series X, if you want them in 4K or you want higher frame rates, again, was up until this point a fine deal. It's $100. It's $200. It was $200 less than a PS5 Pro. It was slightly more powerful than the PS5. There was a value proposition there. Now, why on earth would you buy this instead of a PS5 Pro? The PS5 Pro is more powerful than the Series X.
Well, you can build a working PC for this price at this point.
Okay, so that would have been the case had this increase in prices come 8 months ago.
Yeah.
But PC gaming is also about to get very expensive. I suspect PC gaming is about to be about where it was during COVID here pretty soon. And I think Microsoft is making a very desperate gamble here. I think Microsoft knows PCs are about to get more expensive. If anyone knew, it would be Microsoft. The guys who do all the PCs.
No, I mean, the thing with all of this is all their fault. Because they had the whole gaming industry had this massive influx in audience and influence and attention and volume during 2020. Like, everyone had their eyes on gaming because no one could do anything else. And they had a bunch of new people ready to become frequent gamers. And it should have all been lined up great because they had the Xbox and PlayStation launching that year, and Nintendo had a great year with Animal Crossing. And they launched those consoles in late 2020, and they just had nothing. They were like, here it is. It's super expensive, even though the economy sucks right now, and we're going to give you nothing to go with it. And then they proceeded to just completely lose out on that player base. So they had this massive expansion and how much they were spending on development, thinking that the player base from COVID would just stick around, even though they were being fed nothing for 4 years. And now they're panicking because they're finally seeing the economic downfall of that. And they're having to shed hundreds of employees and lose millions of dollars. And I think Sony and Microsoft in particular, and I think the reason they're doing this lining up for this holiday season, and our next story kind of relates to this, is that GTA 6 is coming out next year. I think both of these companies are just Hail Marying, hoping that game is so big it bails them out of their complete failings as companies for this whole generation, and it's not going to do that.
But that just got delayed till next year,
and it's not going to happen. You're not going to see a 150% increase in PlayStation sales when GTA 6 launches. They're just not going to get that, especially if it's going to cost $600.
At most, it'll be like 10 to 15% bump.
Yeah, I mean, that's not going to happen.
Maybe slightly more if it's like a phenomenally reviewed game.
And if Nintendo's charging $80 for Mario Kart, Rockstar is going to charge at least $100 for GTA 6.
Yeah,
like
if
they're
not
just
more.
going to do that. So like, if you don't already own a PlayStation 5, which is going to cost $600 by the end of this year, or an Xbox, which costs the same, and then GTA 6 comes out and it costs $100, you're not dropping $700 to play GTA 6. Like, at a certain point, you'll just go, no, I'm not going to do it. So I don't understand the whole thinking behind this. I think this has been a massive failing by all the people that have been running these companies for years. It's such an indictment on the way that they think.
I think Xbox is screwed. And I think that this is a last attempt to salvage as much as they can from it. And here's let me get more specific here. They sell Xboxes at a loss.
Mm-hmm. Most
it costs more to make an Xbox than
yeah.
they sell it for. Almost every console is sold for a loss. They make up for it in game sales. Do you know what Microsoft has not been doing?
They haven't even been trying to sell games.
They haven't been making any games.
Mm-hmm.
They've made one game. They made Halo, and they were like, we're done with games. That's it. They did Halo. They sold a couple extra copies of Minecraft, and they called it a day.
And I think they're trying to remaster Gears of War or do a prequel or something.
And I think they are trying to jack up the price so they can sell the remaining stock they have at a profit and be done with it.
And honestly, like as much as we chide them for that, when they exit the hardware game, I mean, that's kind of it for the whole industry. Because then it's
Sony
just...
won.
Because it's just going to leave Sony, and then Sony will jack up the prices for everything even more because they'll have a complete monopoly on everything. And I mean,
Nintendo already has their own little monopoly on their own little stuff.
Yeah, they're in basically a whole different field. So
yeah,
at that point, you're just Sony who's competing with PC, and that is the gaming sphere.
Yeah.
And it's a massively smaller industry.
And they don't have to release any of their stuff for PC right now. They have to release their stuff for PC because there is competition, and they want some of those But if they don't have to do that.
No, why would they? And they can start charging $150 for every game because why the hell not? Who's going to stop them?
Because that's it.
You want to play video games,
go nowhere.
Yeah. Anyway, it's all ridiculous. Let's move on to some quick little movie bits of news. Gary Dauberman is producing an Urban Legend reboot.
What even is that?
This is the 90s horror film. This was one of the Scream kind of followers in the late 90s. Gary Dauberman just co-wrote the Until Dawn film, which I don't even know if you know that came out.
Which I did know it came out, but I have not seen it.
I have seen it. It's bad, not good. Kind of a prequel to
think it was good.
To the game, maybe? I don't know. It was a weird movie. But anyway, that's happening. Joseph Kosinski of Top Gun Maverick is going to direct a Miami Vice movie for Universal. Dan Gilroy's writing the scripts. Sure. Kosinski's busy. That's he's getting quite a bit of work. He's obviously got F1 coming out this year. Okay, here's the big movie story for this week, and that is originally reported by The Wrap and then confirmed by multiple other outlets. DC Studios is no longer moving forward with development on Luca Guadagnino's Sergeant Rock film, which was in pre-production and trying to gear up to shoot this summer. Colin Farrell had already been cast as the lead. Mike Faist and David Johnson have been approached for roles in Easy Company. Mike Faist, obviously, in Challengers with Guadagnino, and then David Johnson was the standout in Alien Romulus. He played the robot. They had also cast the female lead as well, but we don't know who that was going to be. Justin Koretsky's from Guadagnino's Queer and Challengers and wrote the script. Apparently was going to follow Sergeant Rock and Easy Company teaming up with a female French resistance fighter to find the Spear of Destiny before the Nazis in World War II. If you don't know, the Spear of Destiny is the spear that they used to stab Jesus.
Stab Jesus. It can supposedly, in the DC universe, it can grant wishes.
It can, it has mystic powers.
And it can, to an extent, alter reality.
Yes. Apparently, production stalled because of issues with the production's need to shoot mostly outdoors in the UK, with the crew unable to prep before the necessary start time. According to Deadline,
I suspect that this will get fully scrapped by the end of the year.
According to Deadline, the project, which is set to cost between 65 and 70 million, could still come to fruition and shoot next summer.
Not if it costs 2 times as much as it does right now to film.
Okay, so $70 million budget is not high for a comic.
No, that's very low, especially for a DC. Yeah, that's like Joker level.
That would be less than, I believe that would be less than Guadagnino's last movie, even Challengers. I think Challengers cost like $90 million.
But what if it was?
Oh no, that cost 55. So I mean, it would have cost.
What if it was $140 million budget? Actually,
do you think it would just balloon?
What if suddenly, all of a sudden, it's double the price to film in the UK?
Oof. Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. But
What if like yesterday it became twice as
no,
expensive to shoot
me and
there?
you have been infamous amongst each other for crapping on the Sergeant Rock movie constantly, every day, all
Yeah, no,
day.
this is a terrible idea. This is an awful idea.
Okay,
This is so dumb.
this premise is not awful,
The pitch isn't even that bad. That pitch is fine.
and the cast is
The
good.
concept is awful.
No, you should.
This sounds like it would be a good movie. Like fully, this sounds like it'll be fine.
Yeah.
This is stupid.
No,
it's Sergeant Rock.
Don't do this.
That's not a guy.
Don't waste everyone's time with this. Like, what are we doing?
This is not a okay. Again, especially because right now DC is building the foundation of its image that will last the next decade.
Yeah.
This doesn't even participate in that activity.
Yeah. If you just if you just throw out this
that's like
weird
having
little
4 guys building a house. You only have a team of 5 guys. You have 4 of them building the house, which is like already not enough guys. And then you have your 5th guy like building a carnival tent like 3 blocks away for like no reason. It's like, yeah, the carnival's fun, but what are we doing? Why are we need to build the house first.
Well, this wasn't the only. So okay, here's the thing here. I think what happened here was Justin Koretsky's wrote this script for the Sergeant Rock movie and brought it to DC and was like, I can get Luca Guadagnino to direct this. Who's like obviously this acclaimed filmmaker, like artsy fartsy auteur guy. And they were like, well, I mean, James Gunn and Peter Safran went, well, what if DC could win Oscar by like 3rd movie? That would be pretty cool, right? I think that was their thinking behind it. But in terms of like our 4th movie,
When was the last time a Best Picture winner made money?
like was profitable or was like a giant hit?
Was it like profitable?
I mean, they've pretty much all been profitable because they've had, especially in these last couple of years, really small budgets. Like Anora just won Best Picture. It cost $6 million to make. So that like made money.
Yeah.
But in terms of like, what was the last bigger movie I mean, let's see. I have to go back a bit. The Best Picture winners always tend to make money because they come out in limited release.
Yeah, but it's usually
they win and then they go
yeah.
wide and then they bring in this audience. They're usually not profitable by the time the ceremony actually is like happening. But I think that was their thinking behind this. But the fact that they were going to do like our 4th movie out is going to be Sergeant Rock, which is like this weird mid-budget war movie with Colin Farrell, who, let's face it, is not a movie star. Like, I love Colin Farrell, great actor. I'll see anything he's in. But most people don't even know who that is. So, like,
yeah,
that was...
This is like it sounds cool, but this is nothing.
No, this is nothing. I mean,
this is not a thing.
Do you think... I mean, apparently it could still get made. Do you think that is like
I think whether or not it gets made will depend entirely on how these tariffs are, or if they are put into place.
So we'll talk about that in a second. I think the main thing here, I think DC and Warner Brothers might be trying to pull the Rian Johnson on him, on Luca Guadagnino, because he's got a million projects lined up. He's super busy all the time. I think they're going to be like,
just give him so much stuff he can't do anything.
We'll push it back, and then when you finish everything else, you can come back and do this. And they're just going to be like, and he'll just continue to get more and more work. And
I would say
let's just wait a little longer.
They have way too many names attached at this point.
Yeah, I mean they have
like Rian Johnson. They can do that forever, but there's no one else involved.
Just he didn't even write.
Just him.
Yeah, he didn't even write a script for any of that.
Yeah, there's nothing. That is actually nothing. Nothing is happening.
Yeah, they've hired people for this, and apparently they were, putting together props and sets and scouting locations for it. Like this was gonna happen.
Yeah,
they've spent money on it already. But yeah, no. Rest in peace, Sergeant Rock. Sam, we now have to talk. This is our next section. Is now the closest we'll ever get to the McDonCast politics.
The McPollicast.
McPollicast. So,
all right,
we're gonna talk about Donald Trump and the economy now. Everybody, get hyped, get excited.
Everybody, strap in. Take a chill pill. It's not that deep. I would like to say this does have 6,666 retruths, which is just it's interesting.
So we're recording this on Tuesday, May 7th. On Sunday, May 4th, Trump, in the late afternoon, truthed out on his on his own social media website, Truth Social, a full post, which I'd like to read it in its entirety, Sam, if you would do the honor.
Go for it. Yeah, go for it.
Oh, do you want me to do
Oh,
it?
you want me to read it like Trump?
Do you want to do it?
The movie industry in America is dying a very fast death. Other countries are offering all sorts of incentives to draw our filmmakers and studios away from the United States. Hollywood and many other areas within the USA are being devastated. This is a concentrated effort by other nations, and therefore a national security threat. It is, in addition to everything else, messaging and propaganda. Therefore, I am authorizing the Department of Commerce and the United States Trade Representative to immediately begin the process of instituting a 100% tariff on all movies coming into our country that are produced in foreign lands. We want movies made in America again. There we go. That's the whole post.
Thank you. That was great. So there's so many parts to this. First off,
what does that mean?
This sentiment that the movie industry in America is struggling is based in truth. Okay? So it's particularly, and if you look at the trades or any kind of Hollywood reporting,
it's not good.
It's been going on for the past couple of years that production, particularly in California, is down tremendously. And production around the U.S. is down. According to the WGA, which is the Writers Guild, there's been a 25% decrease in writers' jobs. According to IATSE, which is the production workers, the Teamsters Guild.
The unions.
They're down 18,000 full-time jobs in the past 3 years in domestic film industries. There is truth that domestic film production is down. And obviously over the past couple of years, a lot of that was moving to other states, particularly Atlanta was where Marvel was shooting a lot of their stuff. But Vancouver, Canada has become a big spot to produce film and television. So has the UK and Britain and Australia and New Zealand and Hungary. The main reason for that...
But Tucker... Yeah, I was going to say...
The main reason for that is that foreign countries offer federal tax incentives to studios and productions to come film in those countries. So they'll get like a 15% tax rebate to the production, to the studio, if they film in that country. And a federal tax rebate, I'm just going to dumb all this down because it all has to be made very clear so we can talk about all this, is tax dollars from the people who live in that area given to the production for coming to that country. Yeah. And the reasoning behind that
is... They get a check from that country's government to make the movie.
And the reasoning behind that is the production comes overseas and they hire a bunch of people locally and they stimulate the economy for a couple months and then they get the tax rebate and then they leave. And they would just...
Having a big production being made in your country is very good for the local businesses.
Because it hires a bunch of jobs.
They come in and they spend and they live there and there's hotels and there's a bunch of people there.
And restaurants, and then they hire the local production crews from that area and they are all working. That is the whole reasoning behind that. The United States does not have any federal tax incentive program. So
no, there are some states that offer incentives. Like Georgia was the biggest one for the longest time.
California has a decently sized one, although they're already talking about increasing that, which I say is inevitable. There is no federal tax incentive to the U.S. So a big thing that people have been arguing for and discussing is a federal tax incentive program for film production in the United States. However...
Well, that's what you would do if you wanted to actually do this. Yeah, that's what you would do.
However, Trump has decided that tariffing movie is good instead. Now, there are, and I have been looking at coverage of this from all over the place, including statements from the White House themselves. No one knows.
It is fully unclear what this actually means.
No one knows what this means or what it looks like. The White House literally put out a statement that said no final decisions on foreign film tariffs have been made. And the background behind this Truth Social post was that Jon Voight, who is an actor, who is one of Trump's special ambassadors to Hollywood he appointed a few months ago, has been teaming up with his agent to come up with this plan to help out Hollywood and has been taking meetings with several unions and studio leaders for the past couple of weeks. And he met with Trump on Sunday afternoon to kind of show him his plan. I think what happened here, and John Voight has since, not in super detail, but has since gone to the trades and detailed his plan. And honestly, it's not crazy. Like, it's fine. Like, it would probably help. Like, the actual plan.
It would probably bolster domestic production if there was any way of actually achieving, like,
it would boost tax incentives and stuff like that, and tariffs would be used like very minimally in the actual plan John Voight proposed to Trump. I think what happened here is John Voight met with Trump. He threw a bunch of stuff at him. Trump got bored, and he went, "I just do tariffs on everything. I'm just going to tweet out we're going to do tariffs." It's like 100% tariffs. 100% tariffs on movies.
100% tariff,
and that'll fix the problem. And if you look at his statement, I mean, there's so much in it. But the justification that it is a national security threat because other countries are like secretly propagandizing through Dune
really
Part 2.
I'm tired of everything being a national security. We have to take over Greenland because it's national security threat. We have to tariff movies because it's national security threat. Not everything is a national security threat. It's not like we were filming movies in like Iran or like a country that is like openly hostile towards the United States. We're filming in the UK and Australia and Canada, which is now hostile towards the United States, but they weren't up until very recently.
The idea of that on its face is absurd. Like, that's just plain stupid. The reason he says it is because he's not allowed to declare 100% tariffs on anything unless there is some sort of national security threat. Like, constitutionally, he has to say that.
Because otherwise, he's not allowed to do that.
He's not constitutionally allowed to do it. So he's doing that because that's his justification for it.
He has to say that in order for this to be allowed.
I have looked at reporting from like 8 different sources. No one knows what he would even be tariffing or how it would work, because movies are not a physical import. They're ones that 0 sent over email. So
it's a story. It's an idea. How do you tariff an idea?
The tariffs would be on films produced in foreign lands. Does that mean films shot in the overseas? What if it's only certain parts?
Are you tariffing? Okay, who are we tariffing?
Okay, so the question is,
who's getting tariffed?
That's the question. Are we tariffing films produced in like France that are coming here? Because
and what does that mean?
That would do nothing. That's a tiny audience. I mean, China's biggest film.
And that shoves.
China's biggest film of all time is Ne Zha 2, which made $15 million in the domestic United States. So tariffing that would do absolutely nothing. So that doesn't make sense. Are you tariffing films that
The only people that this would affect in any substantive way is the anime industry. That's it.
Yeah, well, if that is what you're tariffing. Are we tariffing...
Yeah, that's the only non-domestic films that consistently perform at all in the United States.
Are we tariffing films that shoot partially overseas, 60%, 40%? Only films that are shot entirely?
What I mean when I say who are we tariffing, what if they're filming in another country?
Yeah.
And they're spending money in that country, filming in that country. What are we tariffing?
Presumably because we're not in... Because films aren't even produced.
Nothing is being imported.
So right now in the UK, Marvel is shooting Avengers Doomsday. That movie is not going to be produced 100% in the UK. They're going to do most of their principal photography there. They're going to come over here. They're going to do reshoots on blue screens in Atlanta. They're going to do post-production work here in the United States. They're going to do it in Australia. They're going to do it in New Zealand. They're going to do some of it in the UK because it's a million visual effects houses, so it's going to be produced all over. They're going to do sound mixing at Skywalker Sound in California. It's going to be produced all over the entire world.
All over the place.
So does that count as a foreign film? But it was written and produced by an American studio. So is that being tariffed? And who's paying the tariff? It is the distributors? Is it the studio? Like, are the theaters going to pay?
Theaters?
Or is Warner Brothers going to pay a tariff to make a movie here also not here?
Let's say you have a T-shirt.
Right.
Let's say you have 100% tariff on T-shirts. You got a factory in Vietnam making T-shirts for $5. You ship a boat of T-shirts to America. You pay $100 per T-shirt, right? Because you're selling that good here, you can collect taxes on that. Are we if you do that with a movie, if you're specifically with production, first of all, how do you define, again, what is
being produced?
How do we define what a...
Also, I love the wording.
Is it just... Let's assume
I love
just if it's filmed... If a single scene is filmed in another country, it counts. 100% tariff on that movie, right?
100% tariff on any...
Are we tariffing the ticket price?
Any and all movies coming into our country that are produced in foreign lands. One, I love the term foreign lands.
It's very medieval.
Yeah. Like they're like...
Oh, whoever shall produce thine story crafting across the ponds.
Any and all movies that are produced, like foreign...
And again, is it...
studios? What is that? I don't... No one knows what this means, including the White House. Like, Trump has been asked about this since then. And he's just like, we're going to have meetings. We're going to have meetings with Hollywood and we're going to figure it out. So...
And again, the only way I can see this manifesting in a way that makes any sense is if you tariff the tickets, like the ticket sales of the movie.
You would have to take, like, the only way it would work, like you could physically make
but if you
work is tariff the theaters for playing the movies. And in which case, like if you just want
which would result in the tickets being doubled,
yeah,
because they're gonna transfer that.
So if you want to, you're
doubling the price of movie tickets.
If you want to kill the film industry tomorrow, double the price of movie tickets. Like seriously,
yeah, it's over.
If you
just over.
If you just want to shoot this thing right in the head, like you can do that. Every
single movie scheduled to release in the next 3 years would be double the price.
Yeah. And the other weird part of this is like
Hollywood dies in that scenario.
He said nothing about television. Like television shows the same thing. Like that's another reason these jobs are way down.
Is that a national security threat?
Down. It would presumably be the same. Is the White Lotus a national security threat? Is Thailand propagandizing to us through the White Lotus? Is the UK
Naruto a national security threat?
Is the UK propagandizing to people through Andor? Like I don't even understand. It makes no sense.
And that's the other thing. There are effectively like 3 countries that make movies: the United States, India, and China. Basically, no one else in sort of Japan. Like they make anime.
Those are the 3 biggest. Those are the 3. I mean, China and the US are the 2 biggest
countries that. Yeah, that make movies. And I think the US and China are really the only ones that ever go international to produce movies.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, this just, like, this doesn't make any sense.
No. I don't know.
Like, you're not bringing in movie production from other countries. Like, you're just shooting your own domestic market again. And that, I don't understand. There is not, by the time, much like many of these other tariffs, by the time that this could be effective, like let's say we course correct completely, everything starts filming in the United States, that's still 3 years worth of movies that we're filming and shooting and creating right now that are already all planned to be international movies.
I don't think this is going to end up happening. 1, because I don't even know what this is, and 2, I don't think he's going to end up doing it because no one...
I think it will happen because of course it will.
I don't think it is because I think he's going to meet with all of the studio heads who are now all owned by tech companies, and they're going to talk him out of it. I do think there's going to be some program he implements. I don't know if it's going to be federal tax incentives, which everyone is telling him to do, which would reshore the most production. The problem is that his camp hates federal tax incentives.
Cannot spend money.
They hate them. Like there was just a bill on the Texas House floor for the state of Texas to increase their tax incentives.
Yeah.
And people got majorly pissed off because they don't understand how they work, and they just think we're like giving millions of dollars to Tom Cruise. They don't understand the economics of production.
We pretend like all these other countries that are doing tax incentives to like get production overseas is like somehow just it's bleeding them dry. It's like, no, they wouldn't do it unless there was a clear monetary incentive for them to do so. They are spending less than they gain by doing it.
The idea that like these countries would just be bleeding money just so they can like say that Furiosa was shot there is like completely asinine.
That has never happened.
They do it because
that has never.
They
with
do
the
it
exception
because they employ 500
maybe
people.
Lord of the Rings. That has literally never happened.
Because they employ literal. It's because they employ literal hundreds and thousands of people, and generate massive economic spikes for these tiny little remote areas where they're shooting.
Certain locations that do not exist in the United States.
that you need
there
to
are
shoot
shots
overseas.
and there are places that you want to film at that are not here.
Yeah.
They do not exist here.
Are you going to shoot Dune 3 in Ohio?
Like, that's not happening.
New Mexico,
That's
maybe?
not happening.
No, that's not happening.
What are we talking about?
No, I have been enjoying...
What are we talking about?
I have been enjoying the memes. I've been enjoying the White Lotus Cleveland memes. It's hosted at the Hampton Inn in Illinois. Like, I've been loving those. This isn't going to happen. He's not going to end up doing this. Mostly because...
I think that some version of this will happen, but
there will be a program.
Yeah.
He would have to figure out what a movie tariff is. And, like, that's, like, no one's going to be able to do that.
It's so... yeah, and, like, okay, what if it's a streaming movie?
Yeah.
Do we tariff Netflix?
No one's... Like, you're not paying to watch it. Are you tariffing Amazon for a movie that they made and is streaming internationally on a website? Like, how does that work?
Like, what... Do we offshore all of our servers in order to avoid
the tariffs?
Movie tariffs?
Yeah, you could just do that.
If I'm Netflix, I'm thinking I'm moving all my servers to Bangladesh right now. I don't even know if they have servers there, but we're doing it.
No, I think the other part of this is the idea that he would somehow be able to justify this as a national security threat.
Oh, to be clear, if you're sending a movie over the internet, there's no way to tariff the Wi-Fi, the digital signal that is coming across the air. So that is why you would offshore all your servers, because then you don't have to deal with any of the tariffing production there. That's the logic behind that.
Yeah, I think the idea that he would be able to justify this as a national security threat is like he wouldn't be able to do that. Like,
it's laughable. It's laughably dumb.
He's declaring a national emergency over like trade deficits right now.
It's like are the hills of
that's tenuous, but the
New Zealand propaganda.
But the idea that like the Hobbit is propaganda.
Geological landmarks propaganda.
The idea that like the Hobbit is such heavy New Zealand propaganda that it's like an actual risk to American citizens' safety.
Is it propaganda to just send American citizens overseas, and that's why like you just don't want them experiencing other countries because then they'll know that they're living in the Iron Curtain or whatever? Is that what we're doing?
The Chinese government pumps out propaganda films all year round. Like if they were coming out here and like they were drawing mass audiences and you saw a giant uptick in like Communist Party sympathy, like then you could justify
then you can
that.
make that argument.
But again, their highest grossing movie ever was an animated movie that made $15 million. Like that's not that's nothing. They made less than a Nora.
That's nothing. That is not functionally that movie does not exist in the United States.
Yeah. No, this is crazy. I do love that it does just reveal his line of thinking where it's just like he hears that there's an economic problem and he's just like, I'm just gonna
problem? Okay, tariff.
Just tariff it. Just tariff everything.
Just tariff it. What does that mean? Just tariff it. I don't know. We'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
Like what? The
interview clips that have been coming out from him. I don't know if you were looking at the Meet the Press interviews, but there's some real gold.
Some interesting quotes going on there.
Yeah, anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about some Marvel.
All right, moving on to the next thing.
Ryan Reynolds is quietly developing an idea for a Deadpool and X-Men team-up movie featuring an ensemble of 3 to 4 X-Men in addition to Deadpool, who would be a supporting player. Marvel Studios is not currently involved in the project. It's not related to their reboot they're developing with Hunger Games screenwriter Michael Leslie. Reynolds is working on the idea independently because he's shifting his focus to writing movies for the next couple months for controversy reasons, definitely not related to. But yeah, he's apparently going to start working on it in earnest after he's done writing his boy band script for Paramount, which is him and Hugh Jackman, like a comedy movie. Yeah, Sam, he said he's not going to do any more Deadpool solo films. This would presumably be the closest thing to that. Would be an X-Men team up thing. Would this just be X-Force?
This is Deadpool 2.
This would just be X-Force, right? 2.
This is just Deadpool 2. This is just the movie Deadpool 2.
Yeah, pretty much. I think he's trying to figure out how to...
It is the same as Deadpool 2.
Well, because they were going to make that X-Force movie back at Fox before they got eaten by Disney. I think he's just trying to rework his X-Force scripts. I think he wants to do that movie. Because I think that was the Deadpool 3 he wanted to make. But they were like, you just put Wolverine in it and make $1 billion. And he was like, all right, yeah, let's put Wolverine in it. We'll do that for now, and then I'll come back. But yeah, Deadpool and Wolverine, mediocre. I didn't love it.
It was fine.
It was fine. I mean, I'm not clamoring for more Deadpool. I'm pretty Deadpooled.
Yeah,
out.
I'm good on Deadpool. I've gotten the amount of Deadpool I needed.
And then there was an article this week from the Wall Street Journal that was detailing some of Marvel's internal issues over the past couple of years. Yeah, I did see this. Long story short, Disney mandated they make a bunch of streaming shows for Disney Plus. It spread Kevin Feige way too thin. What? They were just making stuff to fill the content mandate. So these teams were working for weeks and weeks on stuff, and then they would receive notes from him at the last minute. And then they didn't have any time to change anything. They were having to chase him down. Everything was going over budget because they didn't have time to micromanage any of it. So movies were costing $300 million, shows were costing $225 million. And now they've kind of tried to rein it in. Their focus is on making Doomsday and Secret Wars work, and then doing X-Men stuff for the 10 years following that. And then they're doing a quota of 2 to 3 movies a year, 1 to 2 TV shows a year, or live action TV shows a year. Which I think that's pretty clearly what they should have been doing from the beginning. The idea that people were going to watch 7 MCU projects a year was ridiculous. So, any thoughts, Sam, or just nodding?
I mean, this isn't new. Like, we knew all this.
Yeah, we did know.
Blatantly obvious to anyone paying attention. It was very obvious that everything was going over budget. The continuity that Marvel was so famous for so long was like kind of falling apart.
Yeah, it's thrown out
I think that this makes that a lot more apparent why. Yeah, I mean, this is the stuff we've been saying for the last 3 years.
I mean, it was apparent to people not even like in the sphere. I mean, everyone, you talk to anyone, they were like, yeah, I stopped watching the TV shows after like Loki.
They weren't going anywhere. They were like 2 of them were inspired, and then there were 2 of the 2 of them that were supposed to be movies got made into TV shows because they needed to fill their mandate.
Yeah.
And then they were like, I don't know, make some more. Keep going.
Wonder Man?
Wonder Man show,
Agatha,
Ironheart show,
Agatha,
still not out.
Nope.
Agatha All Along, which was actually fine.
Ironheart comes out in a month. Does anyone know that?
No, it doesn't.
No, it's gonna come out.
It'll come out.
It was shot.
It'll come out, but it won't come out.
It was shot 3 years ago.
Like, it'll exist.
It was shot 3 years ago. Yeah. It's been sitting on a shelf finished
it
for
is,
2.
It has to be so wholly superfluous to the larger narrative that it doesn't matter.
Sacha Baron Cohen is Mephisto in it.
Mephisto's in the show?
Borat himself.
Why did they do Mephisto in Armor Wars?
Because the whole thing is they're doing like magic versus technology.
And they've squandered Mephisto. Well, I guess that one doesn't have to release in China, so that makes sense.
No, yeah, they're not getting that one in China. It's got a black woman as the main character.
Well, no, it's just like the shows probably don't even release in China, period.
No,
so like I would expect
they do. No, they can't get their movies.
Yeah, so you can do whatever you want.
I don't think Thunderbolt's coming out in China.
Yeah, well, they just did a blanket ban on all U.S. films.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
all right, Sam.
You mean the new Avengers?
Oh, Sam. We could talk about that for a minute.
You silly, goofy man.
You saw the movie.
The wrong name of a fake movie. Yeah,
we haven't talked about it.
I saw the movie.
We'll just do quick.
It was really good.
I liked it.
It was solid.
Yeah, it was fun.
There was a lot of cool stuff. The ending was a little bit generic, but that's.
I did enjoy that it ended.
There weren't a lot of ways they could deal with that problem.
Oh yeah, we'll try to keep this
way that made sense.
I guess we could talk about the new Avengers part because they decided that if you didn't see it in the first 3 days.
So, spoiler alert. The Thunderbolts are just the Avengers team, but like kind of in the similar vein as like when the United States government picked the next Captain America and like no one cared. It's kind of like these are the government's Avengers. And then
Falcon is
assembling his own Avengers. Although he was told explicitly by the president to do that.
But that was also he's not the president anymore because he turned into the Hulk and he's in prison now. So Also, the CIA.
Who is the president?
I just want to point out that Valentina De Fontaine has been the CIA.
Played a great Tulsi
has
Gabbard.
been the CIA director for 3 canonical MCU presidential administrations.
Who was the president?
Because she was the CIA director
No.
in Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then Harrison Ford's Thunderbolt Ross got
Was that 3 terms ago?
Well, okay.
Canonically?
So Thunderbolt Ross got nominated after Falcon and Winter Soldier, or got elected.
Right.
So she was the CIA director before that. She was the CIA director during that, and then she was the CIA director after he was left office. So she's been the CIA director for 3 administrations. And apparently,
but only because his term ended short.
And apparently, she's been very corrupt the entire time.
Or just, I mean, okay. To be fair, she's not doing anything that the CIA like wouldn't normally do, like just having like a bunch of weird experiments where they're trying to make super people. Like that's the CIA does that in real life all the time.
She's kind of an odd character. I don't really ever know what
her
they were doing
motivations
with her.
were kind of dumb.
It's also like I could tell the entire
It's
time.
It's unclear what the stakes like. It's unclear why they were even after her.
Well, because she tried to have him killed.
No. I mean the government. Like, why is Congress after her?
For evil corruption stuff.
Like, what did she do that was against what Congress wanted her to do? It's not like they were like the U.S. government and the MCU is always doing super soldier programs.
Pretty much,
like all the time.
There's literally everyone in
like
the MCU.
Every week there's a new one.
No one in the MCU can go more than 15 minutes without trying to inject someone with a super soldier serum. Like that's just what everyone does.
Like that's their favorite thing to do.
Anyway, let's talk about our predictions for the top 10 summer movies. Sam, we both have a list of 10.
All right.
We're going to go from 10 to 1. What we think is going to gross the most domestically in the U.S. We do domestic because that's where we live, and it's easier because international markets are weird. Some movies come out internationally, some don't. The release dates
actually, it'd probably be really easy this year because there's none coming out in China, and that's really the only weird market you have to think about.
But the release dates are different in different places across the world, so we keep it domestic because that's the easiest.
It's easier.
I will say,
don't think too hard about it.
It was harder to put together a list this year. In comparison to the last couple of years.
There's not a lot of big standout roles for these movies. Like a lot of movies, we kind of expect this will be a mid performer, this will be a low performer, this will be a big performer. This one's kind of up in the air, like what will do what. Like it could really go a lot of different ways.
My top 5 were pretty locked in. I had trouble putting them in the correct order. Like I knew they were going to be the 5 biggest. I just wasn't sure where they were going to land in comparison to each other. And my bottom 3, like my really like my 7 through 10, it was like honestly I could put anything here. It's just kind of a crapshoot. Like there's the last 7 or 8 movies I think could make
4
that
for
spot.
me are just kind of random.
But I want to start with you. What do you have for your number 10?
Number 10, I've got Terminator 2. I mean Megan 2.0.
I'm a Threegan 2.0. This comes out in June, I believe, the same week as How to Train Your Dragon. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I could see this movie doing fine.
So there's a lot of horror.
I hear people talk about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of horror movies this summer. And I
thought about Final Destination going here instead.
Mm-hmm.
That was going to be my alternate pick for this slot. I'm hearing a lot of people talk about that one as well.
Yeah, I was looking at the 10th spot. I put a horror movie in mind as well. I was trying to figure out which one it was going to be because there's a lot of big franchise horror movies this year or this summer.
Yeah.
My thing with Final Destination specifically is the marketing campaign hasn't really been there. Like I know the trailer had a big launch on YouTube, but it comes out in like a week and a half, and I haven't
really heard anyone talk about it. I've heard people talking about Megan. I haven't heard anyone talking about.
Yeah. I mean,
Final Destination.
I do think it'll end up doing pretty well because I think like the wacky kills component will get people talking on social media. But in terms of just like hot name brands right now, Mathregan is leaning more into that. I do think
it was down to which one do I think will do better on TikTok.
Yeah.
And really, I think Megan will probably do better on TikTok.
My number 10, I ended up going with none of them. I ended up going with 28 Years Later for my number 10 spot.
Yeah, that one could have gone here too.
And most of that is because it's got a good release date in June, where it's kind of like the big adult movie, where it's like this is kind of like if you're a mature adult, you're going to go see this. It is a brand people know. It's not the first two were not big, but it's got a really high profile creative team with Danny Boyle and Alex Garland. My main thing with it is the trailers for this have been incredible, and people have been talking about them. I do think there's going to be at least a big surge opening weekend of people who are interested in this, just based off of how good the trailer was. And it's got pretty big names: Aaron Taylor Johnson, Ray Fiennes, Cillian Murphy is in it, maybe not. So I do think that's going to be a big component of it. It's one of Sony's only movies this year for some reason. They've sunk a bunch of money into it. They've committed to a whole trilogy. I think if there's one horror movie that's going to at least spike big enough early on to make it into the top 10, which is hard for horror because, they always perform well, but it's usually because their budgets are super low. I do think this is like a big enough movie where it's got like that, not quite that Sinners level, but that like, this is horror, but if you're not normally a horror fan, you're going to come check this out. So that was my number 10. It was 28 years later. What did you have at number 9?
9, I put Jurassic World.
Okay. So
I think Jurassic World will chart. I just don't know where. It's a big enough name that its name alone will get it on the board. I don't know exactly how well it will do, but everything above it, I just think is going to be better. So it's just kind of here at 9.
I think that's crazy that you think Jurassic World's only going to get to 9. It's on my list, but it's way higher. I don't think you realize how well these movies do.
They do well, but
so
like
much money.
Everything else is up higher for like a good reason. And Jurassic World just didn't really fit into the puzzle this year. I think it'll definitely make enough money to chart, but its role is being filled by so many other movies.
I do think it's going to make less than the last 3 have, because it's not leaning as heavily into like, look at all the characters are back. And I think losing Chris Pratt is big. I don't think people are talking about that enough. I do think losing Chris Pratt.
Yeah, he was the main guy.
They've replaced him with Scarlett Johansson, who is a big name, but I don't think has the
second reboot of this franchise.
Yep.
And none of the names here are as big.
And it looks,
maybe Scarlett Johansson. But that's not.
I like Gareth Edwards. He's a good director, but this looks like the most generic Jurassic movie ever made.
Yeah, it's like we're getting to Fast and Furious at this point. Like where we're just making them now. They're just dinosaurs now. We just do dinosaur every once in a while. And that's the other thing. There's like almost nothing unique about this Jurassic movie.
No, they've got nothing.
Almost every single one has some unique aspect to it. The first one was the first one. That's big. Second 2 don't count. Ignore those. Then we have Jurassic World. That one's like, all right, it's back. We're doing it again. It's going to be huge. And we have the genetically engineered super dinosaur, right? Then in the second one, it's like, okay, dinosaurs, but the whole island is exploding. And everyone has to event like that. They shook it up a little bit. They got to like team up with some of the dinosaurs, right? They've never really teamed up with a dinosaur. I mean, they did a little bit in World. But that was also like they were doing some new stuff. The last one, they were like, okay, there's just dinosaurs all over the world now. That's how it is. That's how it's going to be. They didn't really do anything with that premise, but that's what the premise was supposed to be. This one is just like, okay, yeah. Jurassic time. And they're doing another genetically engineered dinosaur. We did that already. There's nothing new about this one.
My number,
at least in Jurassic World 3 or Jurassic Park 3, the dinosaur talks. He goes, Alan.
Okay. My number 9 was The Bad Guys 2. This comes out the first weekend of August. There's quite a few family movies this summer. I was trying to figure out which one I was going to kind of put lower down on the list. And I was looking at how much the first Bad Guys did, which wasn't a whole lot. It did okay. It was kind of an earlier post-pandemic movie. I do think this is going to do more than that. It is a franchise now. It's The Bad Guys 2, so it's got that name recognition. I think it's going to do fine. I just think the other family movies that are coming out this summer, or at least the ones I have on my list, are just going to do that much better. It is on my list. It is like one of the higher family movies. I have 2 that are above it. So I think it's going to do the best.
I don't have a lot of family movies on here. I really only think one of them is going to do huge.
Yeah, it is the only fully animated movie I have on my top 10 is The Bad Guys 2 at number 9, which will kind of tell you what the other 2 family movies are. All right, what do you have for your number 8
Yeah,
spot?
already. My number 8, we have F1.
Okay, Sam, at my number
This is
8,
my-
I also have F1.
Yeah, so this is I think people are sleeping on this movie performance-wise. I think this movie is going to do better than most this summer. Like everything below, like, because these are the top 10. Obviously, there's like 50 movies that are not on the list. I think F1 has the potential to go higher. If the movie's really well, F1 has been really big for a long time. It has quite a bit of cross-gender appeal as well.
I think
this movie could blow up.
The worry about that is that it did have that big spike with like Drive to Survive, but I think there's some worry that that's kind of declined by the time this is actually coming out. Now I have it at the same spot. I have it at number 8. This was kind of my wild card because this is an original movie. It's not a big IP. I was like, okay. I was just thinking about Brad Pitt, big movie star, director of Top Gun Maverick, obviously coming off of that. F1 is popular. There are big F1 fans. You don't always hear them, but they're there. And then another part of this for me was like the big thing they're selling this on and the big thing they're going to push is the PLF IMAX Dolby screens, which make like you get more money per ticket for those. So if you have a big substantive portion of your audience that's seeing it in IMAX, you're going to make more. I think that was kind of the...
people will care about this in IMAX. I don't think people will care about that.
I think that's the thing that pushed it over for me though, is like, okay, this is going to be the movie that like, if you're going to see it, you're going to see it on a big screen because of the driving sequences.
Yeah.
So I do think it's going to make the list. I agree with you that it could go higher. I think more than any other movie on my list, if this is good, I think it's going to do a big boost and really help it secure its spot. If it's bad, I think it could tank really hard.
Yeah, this one has the greatest volatility.
And this is the one, Apple is betting a lot on this. This is Apple's only theatrical movie they're putting out this year, like full theatrical release, like full commitment.
Yeah.
They've teamed up with Warner Brothers to do it. If it doesn't do well, then Apple is giving up on the theatrical game, which is interesting. But, you know, if they're going to gamble on
it
like,
makes sense. They haven't made any money, so I don't know why they're really here to begin with.
But yeah, I have F1 at the same spot, so that's fun. What do you have at number 7?
Yep. Number 7, I have Elio.
Okay.
Which might be a hot take because Bad Guys made a lot of money. But Elio's got that Pixar. And they had Inside Out 2, and that made lots of money.
I agree with you that Inside Out 2 made
and people are going to be thinking now, they're going to be thinking, Pixar's back now. I saw Inside Out 2. That movie was great.
Okay.
And the Air Force is helping to pay for marketing.
For Elio?
They got the Air Force in the movie.
Are they marketing stuff?
That's how it works, generally speaking.
Okay, can I give you a spoiler? Elio is not on my list. It didn't even make my top 10. It's not on there.
I think that's the family movie in terms of like animated movie.
My comp for
I see that doing more than Bad Boys.
My comp for it was Elemental, which was Pixar's last original. And I looked at that movie, which opened very low. It ended up being a pretty good hit because it had very good legs. And Elio could have been the same thing, but 2 weeks after Elio opens, How to Train Your Dragon comes out. And I think that's going to eat whatever scraps Elio was aimed at. And you can tell Disney is already pretty iffy on this movie. They're not really doing a big marketing push. It is over a month out, so they could change course on that. But it doesn't have a big name voice cast. I think Zoe Saldana is the big name they have. People don't really seem too sold on the premise. It just kind of looks like Pixar stuff.
You could make that same argument for Elemental as well.
I agree with you.
Because people thought that premise was really dumb. I think it is. It could they did a decent job with it.
It could end up working. Obviously, Inside Out 2 made a lot of money, but that was a sequel. I think it is going to be kind of a test of like, is the Pixar name still mean something? Are people seeing this stuff just because of the brands themselves, or
because Elemental was also their first real big swing back after COVID.
That was the
and
first,
I think we're well done with that now.
Yeah, that was the first theatrical original after COVID. Okay, my number 7 was Thunderbolts. So this is kind of cheating because Thunderbolts already opened. It had its opening weekend.
Yeah.
So we kind of already know. We were going to do this beforehand, but what are you going to do? I think it's going to end up doing pretty well. I think it's going to have fairly good legs. I want to go back to Elio real quick. The Little Mermaid also came out right around Elemental. Right.
And it didn't quite smush it. It actually did quite a bit better.
Little Mermaid did, or Elemental? What are you talking about?
Elemental.
Yeah.
Like it continued to perform well after that movie came out.
I don't know. I just have a lot of doubt about that one. They pushed it back a full year because they had shaky confidence in it to begin with. I just don't know because we'll talk about How to Train Your Dragon, obviously, because I'm assuming it's on your list also.
Yeah, it's on there.
But I think that's just going to be so big that Elio is going to get lost. But to go back to Thunderbolts, it didn't have a big opening. It had a pretty low one for an MCU movie.
But I think it will continue to do.
It's going to have way better legs than some of these recent ones, especially Captain America and
especially
the
with their weird marketing thing.
Well, that and the reviews for this are actually good. So I think that's going to
which is a big deal.
Word of mouth is actually positive. That does have pretty big implications for the MCU's future. So I think that's going to be a draw. And then I think the new Avengers marketing stunt they're pulling is really dumb. I don't think that's going to work. I think it's just going to confuse people. But I mean, maybe we'll see. It also has. We'll find out. Yeah. It also doesn't have any like direct competition until Mission Impossible in a couple of weeks. So it's got some time to just kind of play and build up an audience. Okay, what do you have at number 6?
So I have a different movie at number 6. My number 6 is The New Avengers.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm putting The New Avengers at number 6. Yeah, no. So I think Thunderbolts will do fine in the long term.
Yeah.
It had I looked at the opening weekend numbers. They were actually better than I thought. It was like 70 something million dollars. Yeah. Which is right around the sweet spot for like an average Marvel movie. Like they usually do about 80 million opening weekend for like the solo character movies.
Captain America 4 did 88, but it dropped off really hard in weekend 2.
Yeah, and I see this one performing significantly better because word of mouth is going to be so much better because the movie is so much better. It delivers on the premise way better.
It's got themes.
It's just more interesting.
And
the themes are good.
And good dialogue.
Characterizations are good. With the exception of one character, they actually handle them all pretty well in an interesting way.
I felt emotions during the.
Yeah, you were like, oh,
when
I feel things.
When Red Guardian's doing his little monologue to Yelena in the third act.
Yeah, when he gives his little speech, and she's like, I feel so alone. And he's like, stop, you are not alone.
I'm like, I'm feeling a feeling. I haven't done this in a Marvel movie in so long.
I didn't know they could do that. I forgot. Last time that happened was Spider-Man. Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
I was just used to like figuring out when I'm going to go to the bathroom during the Marvels. Like this is...
Yeah, like the difference between this one and Captain America 4, which is the last big Marvel movie, is night and day. Yeah. This is so much better. It's hard to believe that they're made by the same company.
Yeah.
And I think a massive part of that is that this is the first post-Kang full production. Mm-hmm. This is the first real movie that was wholly developed after their kind of reset,
or at least did
with all their production.
At least did like principal production post the creative reset.
This was after they decided, all right, we're scaling things back. We're going to be doing less stuff. We're going to be focusing on quality over quantity. This is their first movie that was fully done through that whole production pipeline. Then we'll say the new Marvel, production line.
and was shot with Doomsday being the movie it was building up to instead of Kang Dynasty.
Yeah, and it was a fun ride. It was a fun movie. The characters were fun. The Sentry, sort of spoilers, but he's not even really Sentry, so it doesn't really matter. Is a very cool character, and that like the way that they introduce him and the way that story plays out is really interesting. Yelena Belova was a much more engaging character than I expected. She's kind of been
hot take
not that interesting to me up until now.
She's a better Black Widow than Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, at this point I agree.
Yeah.
She's just a more interesting character
by far. Okay, my number 6 is Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Now, I was looking at early projections for this is opening, and I was looking at the box office for Fallout, which was the highest grossing Mission Impossible movie before, is the highest grossing Mission Impossible movie. And it's looking like it's going to open about the same amount, which means if it legs out the same, it'll be around the same gross. And if it's around the same gross, then this is like the exact spot it would land in, if I'm looking at it compared to like the other franchises that are going to be above it. I think there is interest in this one that there wasn't in the last one because they're selling it as the final one. Whether or not it actually is, we'll just have to wait and see, but that's what they're selling it on. I think the trailers have been great. I think there is excitement for, Ethan Hunt's last ride. He's doing like
that his character's name was Ethan Hunt.
He's doing like 4 big wacky stunts. I'm all in. Every time they play that line in the trailer where he's like, I need you to trust me one last time, and then the theme kicks in, I like feel the need to like stand up and salute like I'm there. So I am very much looking forward to this movie. I do think best case scenario it does Fallout level, which would put it about the spot. It's going to lose money because the budget on it is astronomically high. It's never going to make its money back in a million years, but I do think it could still end up being the highest grossing movie in the franchise. And Sam, what do you have at the 5 spot?
At the 5, I've got another bit of a different movie. I have Mission Impossible: The Dead Reckoning Part 2.
Okay, we are surprisingly in sync. We're like one off.
Yeah. It's just my movies are just your movies, but one spot ahead. Higher.
Plus or minus one Elio.
Yeah. Basically all the same reasons. I hear a lot of drum about this movie. It looks like it'll be a fun ride, if not anything else. And you know what this fills in? You know what box this checks for our summer movies?
You're right, I didn't talk about this. What is that, Sam?
This is our dad movie.
This is the dad movie. Dads love Tom Cruise doing a big run and then jumping off a thing. It's like their national holiday. They're gonna be there. We were having trouble last year. Remember last year when we did our predictions, we were trying to pinpoint what the dad movie would be, and there ended up kind of not being a big one. It kind of ended up being Bad Boys 4. But this year, I think between F1 and Mission Impossible, those are real big dad movies, got big dad movie energy that are going to bring in those guys who have a day off of work for Memorial Day. Okay, my number 5 is, and I had real deliberations about this because I honestly think it could end up being one if all the cards end up falling in the right place. I have How to Train Your Dragon, the remake, at number 5.
You think that could be number 1?
I think it could. I think it definitely could. I am sensing within the online film fan community, a lot of distaste and dread about this movie existing, which to me translates to the general audience is going to love this and see it 3 times. I think this is the biggest family movie of the summer by far. I'm sensing people who are interested in this who are not generally interested in movies in general because they like Toothless and they think he's cute, and this is a thing they recognize in live action. How to Train Your Dragon World at Universal just opened, and it's a big hit. Everyone's loving it. I think this could...
This is your number 5?
This is my number 5. I think it could do astronomically well. On the low end, it's still going to be the one of the even 1 or 2 biggest family movie of the summer.
Yeah, it's in my top 5.
Yeah.
I'm on board. I think number 1 is kind of crazy for one main reason, and we'll get there later.
I think it could. It would be a big long shot, but crazier things have happened. Finding Dory.
It would have
was
a
the
lot of
biggest
things would
movie.
have to go wrong
Yeah.
for this to be number one.
Like my thought.
I think that's the only way that this gets number one.
My thought process behind it was like Inside Out 2 was number one last year, but it had a Deadpool. Finding Dory was number one in 2016. It had a Civil War. Minions was number one. It had Age of Ultron in 2015. So I'm just kind of looking at that. Like a lot of times that giant family movie, because kids are off for the summer and they have the whole week to go to the movies, it ends up being that number one grosser, even above like these giant multi-$100 million blockbusters.
I could see it.
What do you have at number 4, Sam? Get into the top spots. This is where it got difficult.
My number 4. How to Train Your Dragon.
Okay. We are really
live action remake.
It's gonna come down to the decimals this year.
Yeah. How to Train Your Dragon, massive cultural landmark. I would argue it's only gotten more popular in recent years. Such a great movie, such a great launch pad for that universe. And that, with the exception of like 2 of their like Netflix shows, is consistently always very good. Even their original, their Cartoon Network spin-off show was consistently very good.
Yeah.
I have very few complaints about How to Train Your Dragon as a franchise. I think the 3rd movie is really the only one I have any kind of big issues with. I think it is one of the best examples of a trilogy in general.
Mm-hmm.
It is consistently an extremely high quality experience. And from the looks of it, they are just shot for shot remaking the animated movie, which we can debate the necessity of such a project, but
financially, that's very smart.
I've said it once. I'll say it a million more times. Making a slightly worse version of a really good movie is still a pretty good movie. So
yeah.
I think this will do fine. And I'm honestly, a lot of people are upset about it. A lot of people are mad that they're just doing the same thing. Number one, where was that smoke when Disney started doing it? Disney started doing it. Everyone's like, yay.
I think it's broadly the
same. This is their first one. This is their first one.
I think it's broadly the
same.
same.
They ain't never done this before.
The same people complaining about this do complain about the Disney live action remakes.
They do now. But I'm saying when it started, you had a chance to stop this. You could have stood in front of that train and kept it from rolling, but no. You got a ticket, and now that the train's moving, you're complaining that it's going too fast. Train already left the station, buddy. They're just sending another train. Yeah, I think this movie will do really well. I'm excited for it. I just want an excuse to see the movie in theaters again.
No, I know some people who
that's really it.
Who don't like animated movies, generally avoid them, who are just like, Toothless is cute. And I'm like,
I go see movie.
Yep, they got you.
I go see Toothless movie with Toothless. I go see now.
Okay,
that's how I'm thinking.
My next pick is number 4, and to be perfectly honest, half the reasoning behind it was because it's got 4 in the title, and that's because I put the Fantastic Four First Steps at number 4. Now,
mine's in a different spot.
This was really hard for me because this is by far the most anticipation I've felt. Not personally, but just like broadly in the cultural, on the culture.
For a Marvel movie.
For a Marvel movie in quite a long time. Even more than Guardians or Deadpool, really. Like, people are really interested in this. They're like, I don't care about Thunderbolts or Captain America or the Marvels, but I'll see Fantastic Four. So I think that's going to be a big thing. It's coming out in late July. It's got like no direct competition. I have no idea how good this is going to be. Generally, it's got 6 screenwriters and a TV director, so who knows? I think at least the concept of setting in the 60s is unique, and we'll see what they do with that. The cast is debatably miscast half of it, but they're all popular, at least online, so they'll bring in some audience.
Fine.
I think this could do better than 4, but I was just looking at the other 3, and I was like... it was just
rough.
difficult.
It's getting real tight up here.
I put it at 4 really just because of the number, but it could be 1, 2, or 3. Honestly, it could do any of these spots. What do you have at number 3, Sam?
Number 3, we have the one, the only. There's actually two people in the name, and one of them is Baby Yoda. It's Lilo and Stitch.
Okay. A little bit of
I think this is a easy shoe-in for biggest family movie of the summer.
I agree with you. It's on track to have a
It's
monster
got the
opening.
summer themes. It's the Hawaii theme. We got the trees. We got the beach. We got summertime. We got the snow cone guy.
And most
we got the
importantly,
marketable blue guy.
marketable
Even if
blue
the movie doesn't make that much money, we're gonna sell a lot of the Stitch plushies. But I think this movie will make huge money.
No, I think
this is another one of those movies that has only gotten more popular as time has gone on. It's aged surprisingly well.
I think
I think it's just kind of an easy layup.
I think this is going to end up doing $1 billion worldwide. This to me screams movie with giant domestic haul that also has really big international appeal. So I think it's got that going for it. Obviously the plushies, the marketing. I'll talk about it more in here in a second, but yeah, I think it's going to do a lot of money. Okay, my number 3 was Jurassic World Rebirth. So this movie,
that's way different.
This movie might make or break our lists. So my big thing was I was looking at the domestic gross history of Jurassic Park, and I was like, okay, the last 3 have all made less money than the other ones, but they've still made like a crap ton of money, like so much money. Like it's ridiculous how well these movies do because no one really talks about them, but everyone goes to see them for really a reason I can't even like decipher. It seems to just be like Dinosaur and Jurassic Park 1 is good, and that's like justification enough for everyone to go see the new Jurassic World movie. I do think it's going to do less than the other ones, but like it's Jurassic, it's Universal's biggest IP. They're going to dump so much into the marketing for this. It's July 4th weekend. It's going to be a giant deal. I think it's still going to eat up so much money.
If it decreases by the same amount that they have been decreasing since the first one, it does make 800 million, which isn't bad
Worldwide.
But I think, worldwide. I think the other two are gonna be billions though. Which is why I didn't put it that high.
Domestically, it would probably be, it's probably going to end up being in like the 350 range, maybe a little less. What I was comparing that to was the previous Disney live action remakes to decide who would be 2 or 3. And I was like, generally that's better than a lot of them. So like I was really, 3 and 2 were real hard for me. But what do you have at number 2?
Number 2, I have the one, the only, the 4 actually. The Fantastic Four is my number 2. And that's a lot of numbers. But stick with me. Fantastic Four is one of the last genuinely well-known and popular superhero teams that have not had any motion ever.
They've had
never ever have they ever had motion. They have never had sauce. They have never had flavor. They had Angelina Jolie and they still couldn't get anyone to go watch.
Angelina Jolie. You're thinking of Jessica Alba.
That's the same person. No, the vibe, the tone, the way that they've gone about marketing and making this movie seems to be like there's genuinely so much inspiration for this movie, especially compared to other Marvel movies. This one does appear to be offering something, if not tonally, at the very least visually distinct from what we've gotten used to. And more than anything, it's a thing people know, and in addition to being a thing people know, it's a thing people aren't completely sick of. because they kind of don't know that much.
Which is crazy.
They kind of know.
Which is crazy because there's been 3 theatrically released Fantastic Four movies already.
Yeah, but the difference is that those are all doo-doo, booty, doo-doo, turbo, loser, weenie movies.
Well, what if this
and
is a
this
turbo
movie
doo-doo
looks like the Alpha Chad, Giga, Riza Chad, Fantastic Four, 100 Pounds of Force movie.
This is big for Marvel. This is their last movie of the year. This comes out in July. It's their last movie before Doomsday. Like, this is it. Like, once this is
This
out,
is the big one.
Once this is out, the pieces are set, and it's go time whether you're ready or not. So
we're on the roller coaster.
If it's and they've made
and we know that this movie will. Oh, I guess that's kind of spoilers for other movie.
Yeah.
It's not. The trailer's already freaking out. You already know it. It's not like we revealed that it exists. By the way, that's such a stupid. Okay, spoilers for Thunderbolts. That is not a real reveal.
What?
It's not.
The Fantastic
That's not a
Four
real
thing?
reveal.
The Fantastic Four thing?
Why are we pretending like that was a real reveal?
That they're in the
We know
ship?
that was going to happen.
Well, but the
Are we pretending like Fantastic Four weren't going to show up in Avengers? Why would we pretend that? That's silly. That's silly, goofy behavior to pretend that.
The bigger reveal for me in that post-credit scene was Sebastian Stan's haircut, and also the fact that U.S. Agent Shield was still folded.
Yeah, why didn't they give him a new shield? Also, is his shield vibranium or is it other stuff?
I don't know.
Is it something else?
I think it was maybe it's adamantium, and they just cut the line out where he says that. I don't know.
Just didn't say.
No, the big reason they had that post-credit scene was so the Sentry could go, I don't have my powers, so that they can't roll Sentry out to just
until
fix Doctor
until
Doom.
we need them at the very
until
end
we need them
for
in
later.
Doctor Doom. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Your number 2 is Fantastic Four. My number 2 is Lilo and Stitch, which means we both have the same number 1. But my thinking behind Lilo and Stitch,
I think that's a shoe-in for number 1.
My thinking behind Lilo and Stitch at number 2 is, I think, when you look at the movies lined up for early June, late May, it's a lot of like How to Train Your Dragon remake, Mission Impossible 8, MCU 36, Final Destination 7, right? It's a lot of like big franchises, but long franchises. I think if you're a big family, especially, or if you're just kind of a person in general and you're like, I'm just looking to go to the movies for the summer, Lilo and Stitch is a remake, but it's like, yeah, you don't have to be familiar with anything. It's got cute marketable alien. It's gonna be giant. Like, it's gonna make so much money. It is that big family movie. I think everyone kind of knows it. And I think it's just gonna be that thing where like everyone goes and sees it and they don't really care much for it, but they paid to see it. So it's my number 2. Those Disney family movies, they make bank every summer, at least one of them. One of them always cleans up. Okay, we both have the same number 1.
Let's go play the theme song. You got to play the song so the chat can hear, so the gamers can hear at home.
How does the theme go? We have DC's and James Gunn's Superman, July 11th. Get ready. Listen.
This is going to be huge.
Here's the thing. I was looking at the Superman franchise has been around for a long time. Superman the movie came out in 1976 or 78. It's been around for a long time. I was looking at the franchise grosses. There's been 6 main Superman movies. None of them ginormous domestically. Like, really? None of them huge? But this has so much general audience interest. Like, this to me screams, if nothing else, giant opening weekend. Because people are just like, I know Superman. I'm aware of James Gunn. This is a reboot of DC. It comes out in the middle of July. Great release date. Summer of Superman. Warner Brothers is riding on this hard. Like, they need this to hit, which means they're going to actually market it this time. If it's good, it could make $1 billion, which would be huge. I'm not quite sure about it, but if nothing else, I think it's going to have a giant domestic haul because it's Superman and it's like bright, happy, non-controversial interpretation of Superman.
Yeah, it is Superman, I think, has always had the highest ceiling in terms of aside from maybe Spider-Man, in terms of like solo movie superhero potential.
Right. But we've had great Spider-Man movies
And
before.
it's never
We've never had
quite
that.
been fully realized.
We've never had that great
in my opinion.
Superman movie. We've had Superman the movie from 1978, which is good, but it's from 1978. It's like 50 years old.
Yeah.
In terms of like modern Superman movies, I mean, we've got two, and it's Man of Steel and Superman Returns, and neither of them are very good. So like, if this is good, if this is great, that's gonna be huge. Like everyone in the entire world knows this character. They all know Superman.
Yeah.
If they are having a good time seeing him punch people on the big screen, this is going to be the biggest movie of the summer. And like I said, just from general audience, people who know, this movie is like 3 months out. And I know a bunch of people who are like, yeah, I'm looking forward to Superman. I want to see Superman. I'm ready for Superman. Like, that's crazy to me. This is going to make a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, Superman is the superhero. The only really universally acclaimed Superman movie that ever existed is the first Superman movie. And the landscape for superhero movies has changed so much since then.
Yeah, I mean, it was the
in a lot of ways in a very in a lot of ways in a very innovative and like positive direction. Of course, like not all of it, but like in many ways there's a reason why they're the most popular movies consistently year over year, almost every year. And I think Superman has almost been kind of just ignored to an extent. There was Man of Steel.
And Batman versus Superman.
Which was fine, but that wasn't really Superman. That was some other guy. That was sad Superman. No one cares about sad Superman. And there was Batman versus Superman, but that's just more sad Superman, and that's mostly Batman.
And that movie's much worse.
And that movie's much worse. And then that's basically it.
Yeah, and he's been in Justice League, obviously, but
he showed up at the end of Justice League, and he showed up at the end
mess.
of Black Adam, and that was it.
He's back, and he's in the limelight, and he's the focus, and we've recast him, and we've redone the look, and
he's the pillar of this new universe, which is what he always should have been. That's what he is in the comics. That's what he should be in the movies. It has always been. Talk about Warner Brothers properties that are under-monetized, as they like to say. What on earth were you doing with Superman?
Right. It's a big part of film history has been like Warner Brothers as a studio several times over the decades has struggled developing Superman movies. They tend to just, like pay people to write scripts, and then they're never happy with the scripts, and they just go through endless rewrites and reboots, and they don't know what to do with them, or whether to do a sequel or a follow-up or a different interpretation entirely. Like, they never know what to do with them. James Gunn coming in and saying, I'm doing Superman like this, has been the first time they have just kind of let a guy do his thing with the character. Because even with Man of Steel and Zack Snyder, it was like David Goyer pitched that movie. Christopher Nolan was a producer on it. He was a big voice on that movie.
Yeah.
It was supposed to launch a cinematic universe.
And Snyder was never the guy to do Superman.
And Snyder was not the right pick. Like,
that's tonally way out of his ballpark.
Yeah. Or at least to launch
and
that character.
I wouldn't even say that Superman, like that James Gunn is necessarily the guy I would have tapped like at first. Mm-hmm. But I think he has over the production of this movie shown consistently his understanding of the character in a way few others have,
or at least a love for the character, a general love for the character that I don't think Zack Snyder ever showed.
I think that Zack Snyder makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I think Zack Snyder had love for his interpretation of the character. And I'm not trying to make him sound like an egotistical maniac. I mean, like, I think his version of Superman we saw on screen was like him going, "This is the version of this that I would find interesting." I think James Gunn
focused in on one aspect of Superman that hadn't really been explored a whole lot, to give him some credit. Like the idea of Superman as almost like a biblical type savior figure is an interesting notion. It's an interesting concept to have.
And I think that's
But
what he
that's
found
never been
interesting.
who Superman is.
But I think
And I think Superman kind of got lost in that story.
Yeah, and I think James Gunn, I mean, we'll see what his interpretation is, but I think just the way he talks about Superman, the way he's been speaking about this movie, I think he enjoys comic book Superman. Like Superman on the page is a character he likes. So regardless of his interpretation, I think there's a stronger love just for that character and the mythology and the legacy of him that he is taking and approaching this movie with that Zack Snyder and a lot of the filmmakers that have gone after Superman have not had. I mean, Bryan Singer, who directed Superman Returns, was famously not a big Superman fan. He was a fan of the Richard Donner movies, but he was not a big fan of the character of Superman. So I think this is the first time we've had a real creative come in who says, I love this character, I love this mythology, and I want to do my best version of that on the big screen.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up.
I think this has got to be number one. There's no other real.
It's just
for me. There's no, unless this movie just happens to be horrible for some reason,
or they completely drop the ball with the marketing campaign. If they just drop another trailer and it's trash and they don't do it right and they misprogram everything, then it could miss.
But so far, every single time they say anything or drop anything, it makes huge waves.
So just to recap, my top 10 were at number 10, 28 Years Later, number 9, The Bad Guys 2, at number 8, F1, at number 7, Thunderbolts, at number 6, Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, at number 5, How to Train Your Dragon, at number 4, The Fantastic Four First Steps, at number 3, Jurassic World Rebirth, at number 2, Lilo and Stitch, and number 1, Superman. And Sam, what were your top 10?
I have number 10, Megan 2.0, 9, Jurassic World Rebirth, 8, F1, 7, Elio, 6, The New Avengers, 5, Mission Impossible, 4, How to Train Your Dragon, 3, Lilo and Stitch, 2, Fantastic Four, and number 1, Superman.
So we have only 2 that line up order-wise with F1 and Superman. We have 8.
With generally very similar lists.
We have 8 of the same movies and similar in a lot of the same ways. Looks like the main deciding factor here is going to be, for me, Bad Guys 2 and 28 Years Later, and for you, Elio and Megan 2. And then honorable mentions, a bunch of movies coming out this summer that didn't make either of our lists. Smurfs, The Naked Gun, Final Destination Bloodlines, Karate Kid Legends.
I thought about putting Naked Gun at 10.
I did too. I considered it. I was like, it comes out in August. It could be just like a comedy hit or like a summer comedy hit, which we used to have every summer. And then, 2019, 2020 came and those kind of disappeared. But
I think a lot of that will depend on the tone of Megan.
If that fills that void.
Because I think they're going much more campy with this movie than they did with the first one.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, they've decided Megan is like a campy movie. Like, even though the first one really wasn't, this one they're like, yeah, it's campy. Megan, Megan, it's campy. Yeah, I think that'll be really what decides where that one goes.
Other honorable mentions, Ballerina, the John Wick spinoff, Phoenician Scheme, Wes Anderson's new movie, Materialists from Celine Song, Hurry Up Tomorrow, The Weeknd's movie. I don't even know what that is, but that's coming out.
Hurry Up Tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's not real.
Weapons from Zach Kreger, Freakier Friday, the Freaky Friday sequel. And then we have a bunch of auteur movies coming out. Highest to Lowest from Spike Lee, Caught Stealing from Darren Aronofsky, Eddington from Ari Aster, Life of Chuck from Mike Flanagan. Those aren't going to make the top 10, but those are just some high-profile movies coming out. Interesting summer. I think some of these movies are going to bomb. A lot of IPs that have been kind of asleep or that they're testing out, expanding, that I don't think are going to be super successful. I think Smurfs is going to kind of just die on the vine. I don't sense anyone.
Nothing's happening
giving
there.
A crap
No
about
motion.
That. Same with
motion.
Same with Karate Kid. Obviously, Cobra Kai was a big hit, but even that had kind of whittled out by the end of its run. And I don't think that's going to translate to movie tickets, especially a week after Lilo and Stitch. John Wick Ballerina, that to me just smells like Studio Monster because they've reshot it like 3 times. And does anyone care about that with no Keanu Reeves?
That movie will probably perform fine, but it's not going to do anything crazy.
And then a movie I don't know what to do with at all is is Freakier Friday. I don't know if this has a big audience that I just don't know about, but
Yeah. It could be like a weird sleeper top, like number 10 slot.
because like last year, the movie that made it to the top 10 that neither of us had on our radar was It Ends With Us, which was the Colleen Hoover adaptation. Obviously, that was a drama, and this is a comedy, but they both have a predominantly female audience who isn't always easy to track, and who are usually underrepresented at the box office. This is a nostalgia play, especially to millennials, because this is a sequel to a movie from the early 2000s that is beloved. Jamie Lee Curtis, controversial, but still a big name. Lindsay Lohan, been making a resurgence on Netflix.
But see, like, I don't see that movie doing better than, like, Naked Gun, for example.
I think they could end up doing the same. I think it, like, Naked Gun...
I see them as kind of in the same boat.
They're looking at, like, the same like, age range for, like, target audience, but they're different. One is obviously, like, a male skewing, and one is obviously female skewing. I think that's the big difference.
Yeah.
But that is our summer movie breakdown. A summer I'm genuinely excited for. If nothing else, a lot of high-profile blockbusters that'll really determine kind of how these studios go forward these next couple of years, especially for Warner Brothers. Universal's just kind of playing the hits this year. They've got Jurassic and How to Train Your Dragon and Wicked later. Sony is taking the year off because they got nothing but Spider-Man. And then we have like a lot of just kind of crapshoots with Ballerina and Elio and stuff like that. F1.
Yeah, it's kind of a summer of a lot of really weird experiment movies.
Yeah. All right. Well, I am out of news. Sam, I don't know if you have anything else you want to bring up while we're here.
I don't think so. We can do our last minute what happened while we were recording check.
That's what I'm doing too.
Let's
we're recording really late, so
what we got here.
The studio.
They changed the Avengers Twitter account. Oh, GTA 6 got a trailer.
Oh.
Big story trailer for GTA 6. They got into kind of who the characters are going to be, what's going on with that.
Are you going to play GTA 6 if it costs $100?
Maybe.
Probably.
Maybe. It'll depend on what else is out at the time, honestly. If it's like the only game coming out for like a couple months, then maybe I'd consider it.
I have played, I think, 3 whole video games this year, which is a lot.
What games?
I finally finished Jedi Survivor. I went back and I played that.
Oh.
It's pretty good.
I have not finished. I did not. I barely even started it. I had it on Game Pass, and then I got rid of Game Pass, and I forgot, and then I didn't finish it.
I played Doom Eternal. That was fun. I think I played one other one kind of near Christmas, but I don't even remember what it was, which tells you probably how good it is. I don't usually play a lot of video games. It's a big time sink, and like I said, there's a lot of TV coming out right now that I've been trying to keep on top of, and it's way too much.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's gonna be our show for this week. We will be back next week.
Oh, people are now putting Sentry in the who wins between Omni-Man, Homelander, Superman, and now Sentry fight.
Well, Sentry's powers are like super undefined. I'm still not even really quite sure what he does.
So in the comics, the way his powers work are basically whatever he thinks his powers do is what they do. And that is
well, then he would just one-shot
beneficial
everyone.
Sometimes. Yeah, but so the reason the void exists at all is because he just thought it existed. And that made it exist. But it doesn't have to exist. He just thought it did. And then it started to exist.
Gotcha.
So like his powers are literally like, so it is whatever he thinks is what happens, but that includes his intrusive thoughts. And so that can be bad.
What if he just thinks kill Superman and Omni-Man?
And they die.
Yeah, that might be an easy win for him. Anyway.
Yeah, he pretty much kind of sweeps there.
Yeah, we'll be back next week for whatever news happens. It's usually something big. We'll find out. Maybe we'll talk about Thunderbolts more forever. We'll never stop talking about the MCU. It'll just never end.
It'll never end. It never
100
ends
years
ever.
Rick and
It goes
Morty.
on forever.
Rick and Morty.
100 years Rick and Morty.
Season
Adventure.
15 comes out this month. I don't even know what they're on at this
Yeah, the
point.
trailer for that came out. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I did too. All right, we'll see you guys
All right.
next week. Bye-bye.
Yep.